chosen generation. We've been called for to show His excellence. Hey, all I require for life, God has given me, and I know who I am. We are a chosen generation.
A very pleasant good morning to everyone here, and welcome to the ECCB for those of you who are here for the first time. Welcome to the ECCB at 40 Youth Symposium. Before we start off this morning's proceedings, we'd like to invoke God's presence, and so we'd ask Mr. Brian Vidal to do the opening prayer for us. Brian?
Good morning, everyone. May we all stand and bow our heads for prayers. Dear Heavenly Father, we come before you today with hearts filled with gratitude and reverence, acknowledging your divine presence among us. As we gather here today in the spirit of unity and aspiration, we bow our heads in gratitude for this unique opportunity. We acknowledge your presence among us and seek your divine guidance as we commence this Youth Parliament and Symposium sessions. Lord, we ask you to bless all those gathered here today, bless and protect all those who are on their way, and bless all those who should have been here but are unable to be present for one reason or another. We also lift up in prayer the executive of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. May their commitment to empowering the youth serve as a catalyst for positive change, not only within this assembly, but also in the wider world. Bless their endeavors and grant them the wisdom to continue leading with vision and purpose. We are grateful for the vision of Team ECCB for including the youth as part of the 40th anniversary celebrations. We pray for the leaders and participants present here today, that they may be guided by integrity and a genuine desire to serve. Fill us with the courage to address pressing issues, the creativity to propose innovative solutions, and the determination to work together for the betterment of our communities. As we embark on this session, we humbly ask for your blessings. May our discussions be fruitful, our decisions be just, and our actions be guided by the principles of fairness and equity. May our endeavors here today contribute to a bright and prosperous future for us all. We acknowledge the challenges faced by the youth of the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union and the negative headlines that have sometimes overshadowed their potential. Yet, here in this room today, we see a beacon of hope. We recognize the immense capacity for good within these young hearts, minds, and spirits. Grant us, O Lord, the wisdom to address these challenges, the strength to rise above negativity, and the determination to showcase the positive impact young people can make. Bless our discussions, decisions, and actions today, that they may inspire change, unity, and progress. In your name, we pray for guidance, understanding, and transformation. And may the children of the Lord say, Amen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brian. Just to say before we get started in earnest that we have 3 presenters today, 2 before you. Unfortunately, one fell ill this morning, and her supervisor, who is currently off island, has decided to present on her behalf remotely. So we're certainly grateful that we will still have 3 presentations, 2 in person and 1 virtual. At this stage, we'd like to invite our Deputy Governor, Dr. Valda Henry, to give some welcome remarks. Dr. Henry.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning to our Governor, Timothy N.G. Antoine, to our Chief Director of Policy, Mrs. D. Tracy Polias, our management and staff, our panelists before us, Mr. Clemvo Hodge and Mrs. Jeanne Williams Knight. We also want to recognize Mrs. King, who will be joining us virtually, as we lift up in prayer, and we keep in prayer today Ms. Brianna Hutchinson, who unfortunately is not with us due to ill health. I want to recognize our youth parliamentarians who have come from all across the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union. So before you, in part of the inner circle, are representatives of our 8 ECCU countries. I'm sure you know what these 8 countries are. We'll give a little quiz just before we start, before you leave. And to all our students who are with us in person, as well as those who are with us virtually. So in person, we have ICCS, Immaculate Conception Catholic School. We have the Keon School. We have Sadler's School. There is also Washington Archibald Secondary School, Virchilds Secondary School, Bastia Secondary School, and we are awaiting our secondary schools from our sister island of Nevis. They will be with us shortly. So yes, it is with great pleasure I stand before you to welcome you to the first ever ECCB Youth Symposium. As part of our 40th anniversary, which we launched on January 19th of this year, our year of reflection, celebration, and implementation. And just this week, we thought we should maybe add a new R, right, Governor? Or maybe 2 new R's, reconciliation and reconnection, because that followed from our Family Fun Day, which was held on Sunday. And it was so beautiful to see all of our retirees, the family and friends of our staff and those. And we also had with us some person who did not retire from the ECCB, but who had worked there and resigned, for one reason or the next. And they were so happy to be here. And we decided that for future events like those, we will invite not just our retirees, we'll invite also other staff who have worked and contributed to the ECCB and the growth of our currency union. So our reconciliation and our reconnection before our year ends, and this is just beautiful. This morning, we have before us will be 3 young persons who are going to share with you their own experiences on entrepreneurship in the Orange and White Economies. And what I'm really happy about this Youth Symposium is that it's a Youth Symposium for youth, led by youth. We have 3 youth leaders who will be presenting for you. In the inner circle, we have youth parliamentarians who are also leaders. And I'm positive among all of our schools present here and virtually, they are leaders. Leaders in sports, leaders in debate, leaders in academics, leaders in creative arts, leaders in so many spheres. We often say about the youth being the leaders of tomorrow, and that is so true. But the truth is, the youth are already leaders of today. You're already making your mark as leaders. And we want to just encourage you in your endeavor to serve. Because ultimately, leadership is about service. Service to your families, service to your communities, and importantly, service to your nation. It was President Kennedy who said, ask not what your country can do for you, but instead ask, what can I do for my country? And that question, you're not too early to ask that question. You've already asked the question and you've already answered that question. And so we just want to encourage you. At the ECCB, we love young people. Governor Antoine gets excited when he sees young people. And in fact, when we met about a year ago, a little less than a year ago, with the youth parliamentarians of Antigua and Barbuda and St. Kitts and Nevis, the idea of the Regional Youth Symposium was born. And once I brought it to Governor, we ran with it, because he said, anything for the youth, we will support. And so we've done that. And while we were planning our activities for ECCB at 40, our year of reflection, implementation, and celebration, and our new 2 hours, we said we must have the youth again together, a youth symposium, where we can hear the voices of the youth on different matters. And so that's why we are here. Last night, there was a welcome ceremony for those who had traveled far and wide to be here. And Governor, and I'm going to just use that message, Governor, a little bit of your message to the young people last night. Yes, because last night, this whole audience, here and virtually, was not present. And so I think it's important. And yes, Governor re-emphasized the importance of service. But Governor also spoke about social media and your use of social media. And we know that social media, and in fact, for young people, my son tells me it's old people who use Facebook and young people use Instagram and all other kind of grams. And so, persons post anything, all kind of things. And social media, yes, is an important platform. But we must be mindful of the use of that platform. Because truth be told, employers and universities, they do scout your social media pages and handles to see what kind of things you post. Because what it does, it gives them a window into who you are. The things you sign, the things you share, the things you post yourself. And so while you use it responsibly. Use it as part of your tool of service to humankind. And so I wanted to leave that with you. I also want to leave with you another message that I gave to the youth last night. The importance of serving with purpose, with integrity, with God-centeredness, and really with passion. Your passion for what you really believe in, it should be so evident. It should be contagious. In fact, whenever you listen to Governor Antoine and even CDP, you catch that passion. You can't remain still. You can't remain not thinking. It forces you to think. It forces you to reflect. And in that reflection, to take action to grow. Your purpose. I believe that everyone has a purpose. And we're supposed to focus ourselves on living purpose-filled lives and with our God-centeredness. Because ultimately, if we reflect on our purpose, or reflect on the purpose that God has imbued in us from before we were born, It will lead us to be making better choices. It will really cement the importance of service to mankind. And then, of course, integrity. Integrity is so, so important. My father would always say to us that when you live this world, the only thing you live with is your good name. You don't go with any of the material things you have acquired. Yes, you maybe go with one little outfit because they will put you in either a suit or a dress to bury you. But that's all you go with. But what you leave behind is your good name. He always said to us too that our name was borrowed. He said Henry, which is my surname, did not belong to us. It was his name, which he lent us. And we should do nothing to bring his good name into disrepute. So as you continue to serve young people, always think of integrity. And integrity also is anchored in a question. What would Jesus do? What would God do? What does he want me to do in this point and in this moment? And if we think of that, it leads us to make better choices. And so I want to just welcome you to this Youth Symposium. I'm excited. I'll be here for the entire morning, and as well as I'll be here tomorrow for the Regional Youth Parliament, and most of the executive will also be here, because at ECCB, the youth is our future. The youth is part of our present. And we love you, we want to bless you, and we want to welcome you. So on behalf of all of us at ECCB, welcome, 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 and may God continue to bless you and anoint you as you continue to serve. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Governor, for your wonderful remarks. I hope you took those remarks to heart. You are indeed the future of tomorrow, and actually you are the present. You are the present leaders as well. So we welcome you warmly. And students, I know some of you might be a little bit maybe uncomfortable. It's probably your first time here. We do really want to warmly welcome you to the ECCB. Relax. Take in the presentations. If you have any questions at the end of the presentations, please feel free to ask. We want to hear from you this morning, right? They will set the tone for us. You are the ones who will take it to the next level. So feel free to ask whatever questions you may have. We're going to be discussing the Orange and White Economies, and we will invite Ms. Tessa Myers-Gilbert to come up to the podium to give us a brief definition so that we understand exactly what it is we will be talking about this morning. So let's welcome Mrs. Tessa Myers-Gilbert.
Good morning, everyone. Please allow me to adopt the protocol already established. The theme for this morning's symposium, Entrepreneurship in the Orange and White Economy, is very relevant to economic activity today. However, we cannot take for granted that everybody knows what the Orange and White Economy is. So I will tell you a little bit about it. The Orange economy, also known as the creative economy, as defined by John Hawkins, includes all the sectors whose goods and services are based on intellectual property: advertising, architecture, crafts, design, fashion, film, games, toys, music, publishing, research and development, software, TV and video games, as well as visual arts and performing arts. These are things that we interact with every day, whether it is via social media, in schools. So we are accustomed to these things. These things are a part of the Orange economy. And according to UNESCO, the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, the Orange economy accounts for 3% of global gross domestic product and 30 million jobs worldwide. So our young people, that can be you participating in this economy sometime in your future, or even now. It's never too early to start. The white economy, also known as the digital economy, is focused on the digital world, where startups, small businesses, and technology gain strength. This is what is becoming what we now know as the white economy. The concept of the white economy is created by young entrepreneurs of startups and digital businesses. So every time we use our phone, go on an app, we listen to music, or we do some dramatic presentation in school, we create something, we do art. Think of the orange and white economy. This is what we are here to talk about today. And the orange and white economies will transform and continue to transform how we do business today and in the future. And we are hopeful that our presentations today enlighten and inspire you to be a part of the orange and white economy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Tessa Myers-Gilbert, for your brief explanation of what we'll be talking about today in terms of the orange and white economies. So, ladies and gentlemen, you are ladies and gentlemen, right? We're all grown inside here today. No little children. All right. We now come to our presentations. And like I said, we will have 3 presentations. 2 will be done right before you. 1 will be done virtually. After which, we will have some members of the Regional Youth Parliament give their impressions of the presentation. Very short take on what they got from the presentations. And after that, we will open the floor for questions and answers, both here and virtually. So that's the flow of this morning's proceedings. We're all good? All right. Let's introduce our first speaker. Just give me a minute. So our first speaker is Mr. Clemvio Hodge from Anguilla. In 2015, Mr. Hodge took on the role of managing his family's tourism magazine, What We Do in Anguilla, during its 25th anniversary celebration. Over time, What We Do in Anguilla has evolved into a prominent marketing company in Anguilla, offering a wide array of services, including consulting, digital and print marketing, graphic design, videography, photography, and more. Currently, Mr. Hodge serves as the chairman of the Anguilla Youth Business Foundation and holds the position of deputy chair for the Anguilla Social Security Board. He is a passionate advocate for youth development, entrepreneurship, and the pursuit of meaningful solutions to societal challenges. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mr. Clemvio Hodge.
All right, thank you very much. And it is a pleasure to be here today. This is actually my 2nd time in St. Kitts, and my 1st time was for Music Festival. So, it's been quite a long time, but I'm happy to be here. St. Kitts is very sweet, that's for sure. So my presentation is on the white economy. Now, it's very important to note that the white economy actually spans, the white economy spans all economies, because white as a color is present in all other colors. So it's present in the orange economy, the green economy, the blue economy, and so forth. Let's see. This pops up on the screen. How do I stop? Okay.
Presentation.
Yeah. I've prepared a presentation, so I'm hoping to see it on the screen at some point. Yes, so a little bit about myself. So they mentioned, okay, good. And that's technology right there. That's a digital economy right there. So we're unlocking the digital prosperity by empowering Caribbean youth. Myself as a Caribbean youth, as I would have mentioned, I I'm the manager of my family's business, What We Do in Anguilla, which I took over from my father in 2019. And I'm also the co-founder of a business with my sister called Quest Experiences, which works in the orange economy by way of creating experiences around our history, our culture, and it also is related to and connected to the white economy because we accept online bookings for experiences so persons can organize their itinerary before they arrive on island. Now that is a novel thing for my island, but it's not a novel service that's offered globally because when I travel abroad, I can choose any experience I want, I can pay ahead, I can know what I'm going to do, and find all information I need ahead of time. So one of the first questions I'd like to ask is, where are you from? Do we have anyone from Antigua? Can I get a show of hands? Okay, we have some from Antigua. Anyone from Anguilla? Okay. Let's see. Dominica? Good. Lovely. Grenada? We have, yes, awesome. Who am I missing? St. Lucia? Okay.
St. Vincent.
St. Vincent? Okay. Montserrat? And I think I'm missing a very important one. Anybody could tell me? St. Kitts and Nevis, because we're here right now. Wonderful. So, continuing on. So, the digital revolution. What is the digital economy? The digital economy is the economic activity that results from billions of everyday online connections among people, businesses, devices, data, and processes resulting from the internet, mobile technology, and the Internet of Things. Now, the Internet of Things might be something that sounds foreign to you, but it really is all of the connections between devices that we have now. So it's like connections between this remote and the technology that powers the screens, or even the cameras and their connection to the wider internet as well. Why should the Caribbean embrace the digital economy? The impact of remote work, especially after the COVID-19 pandemic, is one of those reasons why we should be embracing the digital economy. On the basis that we found that even though we had to remain at home and under lockdown, many of us were able to work from home, we were able to learn from home. And it's created a new dynamic in the ways that we connect among ourselves and the technology that we have. Equally, it's important because of the e-commerce solutions that we now have. Those include online marketing through social media. I'm sure a lot of us consume social media, whether it's from TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and a wide array of areas. Some of this content may come from the United States, it might come from England, Japan, the Caribbean, and we all utilize it and consume it right in the comfort of our homes. Equally, the digital economy is a very wide economy, and it has finances behind it. And in 2016, it was regarded as having about 15% of global GDP, which equated to $11.5 trillion. I think that's a really big deal. Mm-hmm. And it means that there's a lot of finances available for us as young persons, as entrepreneurs. There's income to be gained through that. So what is our digital potential? I'm sure a lot of you know a lot of influencers around the world. And today it is really impossible for us to interact without delving into the digital economy. My business, What We Do in Anguilla, we promote a lot of things that happens on the island, but we also have been instrumental in marketing a lot of government businesses, such as the government departments and ministries, such as the Department of Inland Revenue, which recently would have launched the Goods and Services Tax, which is a new tax for the island, similar to what VAT is for St. Kitts. And we had to overcome a lot of miscommunication that persons had about it. We had to educate them. And we also had to educate them about the multi-tax system that the government has launched as well, which meant that persons didn't necessarily have to come to the Inland Revenue Department and stand in a line. They could actually file all their taxes online. And in doing so, we have now seen that persons no longer come to the Inland Revenue Department. The lines are actually empty. But what this means as well is, for the government of Anguilla and businesses like myself, is that we no longer have to waste time standing in line when we can actually be utilizing our time to develop our businesses further. And that's called ease of business. So by utilizing the technology that we have today, we have been able to resensitize the public, but we've also been able to change the dynamic of doing business and doing government business specifically on the island. Equally, we utilize the digital economy for entertainment purposes. I have on screen here some persons who would be influencers from a few of our islands. One of them being Bombshell Vivi, who I found is a makeup artist in St. Kitts and Nevis. And she has over 151,000 followers on Instagram. And her business spans way farther than just the boundaries of St. Kitts and Nevis, because the population here is about 47,000, 50,000 persons. So she has a global reach through that. Equally for Anguilla, I have DJ Styles, who is a very popular DJ on the island, and he would have recently started his journey, and he did his DJing a little different to many of our DJs on the island, where he started to do videos in different scenic areas of Anguilla, playing his mixes. And several of those videos have now garnered over 1 million views, and he even received an award for doing that, all from the shores of Little Anguilla with its 15,000 people. Equally, we have the Elite Pro Bikini Fitness, Miss Kimberly Percival from Antigua and Barbuda, who would have competed around the world, and she herself has a great following on Instagram for what she does. And through that, she also has had endorsements and so forth by utilizing her reach on social media. Now, there are 3 components that I would like to also note that are important in the digital economy, and that is the digital ecosystem, digital infrastructure, and digital skills and entrepreneurship. Now, as it relates to the ecosystem, all of us have access to internet. Anyone doesn't have access to the internet, to a mobile phone, a smartphone, a laptop? Any show of hands? Right. In today's world, we are all connected. And the infrastructure that we have, thanks to our communication companies, such as Flow and Digicel, they have now presented us with high-speed internet. So it's no longer a slow tarry to get information across the persons. When I started in the business, which was about, in 2015, it's not that long ago, I suffered with internet speeds of 8 megs, 10 megabytes per second. And today, Flow has now presented us with upwards of 300 megabytes per second. And with that, I'm able to send videos to someone as far as the United States in a matter of seconds or minutes. Equally, by upgrading my computers, I now am able to export a video, which, for instance, a 5-minute video when I started out would take about 5 hours to export. Now, a 5-minute video takes about a minute on my upgraded computer. Now, one of the statistics I found about St. Kitts is that 81% of the population has access to the internet. I would like to beg to differ and say that it's probably closer to 90%, because I'm sure many of us have siblings and little baby brothers and cousins at the age of 2 years old who can take your phone and go on YouTube and dial up Coco Melon, and all you hear is Coco Melon. And it's as if they're born knowing how to utilize this technology. Likewise, many of you have a very strong adaptability to utilizing digital technology. Whereas a lot of persons who are much older than you have had to do classes to learn how to use a computer, how to use a smartphone, and they're still struggling. And that is a big strength that all of you have within the digital skills that are necessary for your success. And there is an ever-accessible user manual of digital skills, which is the internet. You have access to YouTube. You have access to online courses and certifications. And you also would find now that a lot of the businesses that you may go to work for not only require a degree, but they also require a very strong understanding of the digital technology that you may use. And that is something that is really important for when you're going out to look for a job. But I think even more so, it's important as someone who wants to go into entrepreneurship potentially. So I'd like to ask this question. Anybody here interested in being entrepreneurs, have a business already, or anything of that sort? Can I see a show of hands? Okay, I see some in the pod. Lovely. This is great. It's very important to note that to be an entrepreneur, you will have to have a very strong understanding of the digital market, digital skills, regardless of whatever field you intend to go into. Because you'll have to use social media to market that business. You might have to use the computers to do your accounting. Equally, you might need to be able to reach out to persons outside of the country, because your business might be a global business that seeks to have customers across the world, or your suppliers might be across the world as well. So it's very important to pay close attention as we continue to grow. Equally, it's also important to note that there is a lot of competition, and your competition is not only now individuals. Your competition includes artificial intelligence. Anyone ever heard of artificial intelligence? Yes. Artificial intelligence is computers' ability to do several tasks, usually at a much faster rate than humans are capable of doing, and also at a cheaper rate, because where 5 persons may be able to do one task in a day, artificial intelligence might be able to do it in 5 minutes on its own. And that's one of the things that you need to be cautious of as you continue to grow. So what kinds of government initiatives and policies are in place? What is the government doing to ensure that young persons and their countries in general are ready for the digital economy? One of the things that recently happened for Anguilla, which shows the scale of the digital economy, is our top-level country domain, .ai, which has recently blown up as a result of the introduction of ChatGPT. Anyone knows what ChatGPT is? You've heard about it? Okay. A lot of persons have heard about ChatGPT, especially on the basis of its ability to write articles and speeches and essays and homework. And with that, the .ai, which artificial intelligence, has the domain has blown up. So Anguilla in itself has benefited tremendously. This year recording upwards of $50 million of revenue from domain sales. And that is intended to continue to grow. And with that, the government has noticed that, this area that has just been there, dormant, because the .ai domain has been around for ages, has so much potential. Equally, after COVID, Anguilla also went into the digital nomads sphere, which is persons who can operate their businesses or work from home or anywhere in the world, being able to come to Anguilla to reside, to benefit from our lovely taxes, because we don't have income tax and so forth, and to enjoy the ability to sit on a beach and do their work on their computer and conduct business without the cold air or the long transportation that is necessary where they come from. And so we've set up a special economic zone through a company called Azure that does that. Another area as well is utilizing technology in the teaching sphere. And that has come as a result of COVID-19, when everyone had to go home to, and to shelter at home. A lot of the, all of the teachers and students had to rely on their laptops, tablets, and phones to communicate and to continue the education that was happening, because it would have been way too long for us, for that subsection of our population to not be educated, and it would have had far-reaching implications. So after COVID-19 had subsided, the government initiated a project called Project Inspire, and with their partners, they were able to acquire these huge digital screens, as you can see in the photo, where students would be able to utilize that technology to answer questions. But also, the screens are part of the Internet of Things, and those screens can connect to the laptops that the students have, and they can, at their table, answer questions that are placed on the board. And also, when they're at home, they have these, the homework is also available online for them to complete. And in my research, I also note that SyncKids itself has also been doing a lot to move into the digital space. One of those initiatives is the Digital Identity Authentication Project, which is catered around the electronic identification system for all citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis. Equally, the digitization of the application process for citizenship by investment. Okay. Overcoming obstacles. Where there's great power comes greater responsibility. Now, I told you that the Internet of Things connects our devices, connects people, and so forth across a global sphere. There are a lot of risks with that level of communication. It's easy for the wrong information to get out, but it's also easy for the wrong people to access your information. And that would include access to banking information, your personal identity as well, which would mean your name, your date of birth, your address. And persons can steal your identity, they can steal your money. And all of these things are very important when we're navigating the online sphere. The Deputy Governor would have spoken earlier about our social media presence. That is a presence that doesn't leave the internet, but it also is a presence that can be replicated very easily. Has anyone ever had any friends whose account would have been hacked? Yeah? Or they found duplicates of their accounts online? One of Angola's influencers, she would have actually lost her TikTok account to a hacker who would have stolen her account with hundreds of thousands of followers. And this was after she had received an award for all of her successes on social media. And you know, there is a great loss that you experience, not only emotional, but even financially, when persons would steal that information or your account, because you'd have to rebuild it from scratch. It may not be, you may not be able to rebuild that. Equally, digital advancements cause redundancies in various business sectors. It can increase unemployment, or we can do a redeployment. Now, I say that on the basis that I am a part of the Angola Social Security Board, and one of the things that we're currently working on is the digitization of our systems. So persons can claim, they can receive their benefits, and conduct their business for Social Security online. With that, we have also been able to condense the roles that we have for the business, for the Social Security, because we no longer need persons to go in and manually put in these claims and benefits. One of the ways that we have been able to retain our staff has been to redeploy them in the spaces that have been created by educating them on the utilization of the technology. So it makes their job easier, but there is still a place for them. Also, there's challenges in accessing hardware and the software that's necessary for utilizing these technologies. And I say software from the perspective of some programs actually are geo-locked, so you're not able to purchase them online if you're in a certain region. And I think that's something that a lot of us have issues with. It was a problem for me when I was working towards doing our videography business and so forth, because Adobe does not allow for purchase of the programs within the region. But luckily I was abroad. I was at university in the UK, and I was able to purchase it while I was at the university. And these are areas that really do need to be overcome. And also it is costly for us to be able to navigate, because, for instance, we have a social influencer from Anguilla who is partnering with a makeup brand who would like to pay them for their services, or even to send them some of their goods. And in order to pay them, they have to go through this long process of trying to do a wire transfer, which can be quite expensive and so forth. These areas are very important areas for us to be able to allow our young persons to do business in the digital sphere. So avoiding and even correcting these obstacles is very important. All right, nurturing digital careers. All industries are digital or rely on digital skills and tech. Financial services, healthcare, manufacturing, retail, logistics, media, utilities, energy, and the public sector. Digital streams of employment are available, and those include data analytics, cloud technology, infrastructure solutions, engineering, cybersecurity, applications for business and mobile, user experience and user interface, automation, artificial intelligence. It's very important to highlight artificial intelligence as an option for entrepreneurship and also employment, and 5G and among others. We can also include non-traditional careers in the digital sector, in the career days that we have at our schools, and also continued growth in the internet connections and the technology that is available to us. Okay, so with that, I would like to end my presentation. I appreciate you all listening. I hope it has been informative to you, and I would like to invite you to write any questions that you may have at this time. Yes. All right, any questions from anyone? All right, so we'll hold the questions after the end. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hodge. If I may just say, for those of you who are here, whatever you decide to do in the future, just remember that you need to think outside of your current location. Think beyond your current location. So whether you are in Anguilla, Montserrat, Grenada, Dominica, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, wherever you are, whatever you decide to do, you do not have to restrict yourself to the boundaries of your specific country. You can market yourself globally. You can become a global brand. That's what we're trying to get across to you. Don't limit yourselves to just your country, because the market, your market, should be the global market. We got it? All right, thank you once again, Mr. Hodge, for your presentation. So up next, we have a dynamic young lady, if I may say so. Her name is Ms. Jehan Williams Knight. Jehan is an attorney and the registrar of the Intellectual Property Office in St. Kitts and Nevis. In 2014, she earned a master's degree in intellectual property law from Queen Mary University of London. Outside of work, she's an author. She's an author, not just a lawyer. She's an author as well. She's a poet and spoken word performer. She's a former radio show host and a lover of all things surrounding music, creativity, and performing arts, especially the business behind them. So it's not about just the orange economy or creativity, it's about the business behind it. Let's welcome Ms. Jehan Williams Knight, who will do a presentation on intellectual property rights in the orange and digital economy.
Test, test. All right, better? All right. This is what we have to do. We have to move and adapt when things don't go according to plan, okay? Now, I was saying this is the first time in a long time that I've seen students so attentive and, so respectful. Is it because you're at the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank? Is it you guys feel okay? You're here, you're listening, you're good? Who's creative in here? In every room, there is a singer, a writer. Okay, I need 3 people who write or sing. Let's go, come. I don't have a lot of time, so come. 1, 2, 3.
Don't be afraid.
Yes. We don't do fear around here. No, you come right here. I want the camera to see you. All right. So we're going to write a verse for the next soca hit. So I'm going to start. Carnival is, somebody give me a next line. Carnival is what? Hype. Okay, carnival is hype. Somebody come in with the next line. Carnival is hype. Huh?
Carnival is more than a feeling.
Carnival is more than a feeling.
The time of your life.
The time of your life. Carnival is all are we. So let's go. Carnival is hype. Carnival is more than a feeling. Carnival is the time of, sorry. So carnival is hype. Let's go. Carnival is more than a feeling. The time of your life. Carnival is we. Okay, so let's go again. Carnival is hype. Carnival is more than a feeling. The time of your life. Carnival is we. Who could sing? Who voluntold you? You're Crystal? Wow. So, Crystal, you could give us the melody with that one. Carnival is hype. Carnival is more than a feeling. The time of your life. Carnival is we. You come up in us, so it's your fault. Carnival is hype.
Time of your life. Carnival is we.
One more time. Carnival is hype. Carnival is more than a feeling. The time of your life. Carnival is we. Carnival is hype.
Okay.
Carnival is more than a feeling. The time of your life. Carnival is we. Hey, carnival is hype. Carnival is more than a feeling. The time of your life. Carnival is we. Don't go anywhere yet. So,
Before you go ahead, I think we need to copyright that, okay? Make
Get
sure nobody
into
takes that,
that.
and makes a lot of money off of it. You need to copyright that.
we're getting to that. So, who's another singer? Who's a performer? No, I want somebody who's not here. What's your name? Ethan. Okay. So let's leave Ethan over here and the writers come over here. Now, let's say somebody wants to publish this song. We mix, master, publish this song. And Ethan is walking past our session just now and say, hey, I like that. I want to sing that. I want to put that on my next album. Ethan goes and performs on music festival. Who should get paid for his music festival performance? What's the fear? Where's the fear? Who should get paid for? Ethan is on the stage, performing, his hat out, dancing, shirt off, everything. Who should get paid for the music? Who is music festival paying? Since you were respectful and put your hand up, yes. So music festival writes a check to?
The two of them.
Who?
I mean, the two of them.
The two of who? 'Cause 6 people up here.
The writers and the singers.
Okay. So what happens is music festival, let's not act like we don't know. Music festival is going to pay him because he's the performer. But the 5 of us slave over this song. So how do we get paid? How are we going to get paid? A lawsuit? Let's hope it doesn't get to that. Yes. How do the 5 of us get paid? Because music festival is clearly paying him because he's the one who goes on the stage.
Okay then, since the music festival paying him, like he could give him money and pay the rest of them.
So out of his money, he's supposed to pay us?
Yeah, split the
Call them the writers.
Okay. Well, let me not talk to you anymore. That's not what happens. What happens is music festival is going to pay Ethan for his performance. That's what you call a performance fee. So when you see your favorite artist up on stage and they're performing their hearts out, the contractors or promoters or whoever invite them pay him for his performance. Okay? But maybe Ethan would have paid the 5 of us a little something to, for giving him the words and the melody. But is that when Ethan goes now and sings on Coachella with Beyonce, and everybody is buying his track, and he makes millions and he goes platinum, one to the 5 of us over here. We get royalties. But how do you get royalties? What is the basis of royalties? We're going to get to that in the rest of the session. But thank you all, my writers and singers. Keep this example in mind. What should I? Now, my presentation today is on intellectual property rights. Now, what is intellectual property? Very simple. It's the property You create with your intellect. It's that simple. The core of intellectual property is creation. When you create something, when you write something, when you develop something, when you design something, when it is the investment of your skill, your talent, your labor, your judgment, you create something that is, it becomes intellectual property. So what you create with your mind and your talent, you own it. If you remember nothing more than I said today, I want you all to walk away understanding and valuing the principle of ownership. When you own something, you are entitled to control it. When you own something, you determine how much you should charge, how much you should get, who could use it, when they could use it, for how long they could use it, because you are the creator and the owner. Now, when your creation is used, in most cases, you are entitled to compensation. So, creation leads to ownership. Ownership leads to control, and control leads to earning. You earn in the digital and orange economies through creation. So I want you all to remember that. When you create, you own. When you own, you control. And when you control, you own. You earn, sorry. But when you use other people's creations and benefit from it, you don't own it, you offer it. So if you don't own, you owe. That is as simple. I've told you my entire master's program in 5 words. Create, own, control, and earn. But when you use and you don't own, you owe. Right. So, what is the basis of all of this? People are talking about royalties. What is the basis? Where does all of this come from? Now, I'm going to tell you about 3 types of intellectual property this morning. Not in grand detail because we don't have much time. But copyright. I think everybody has heard that word, right? Familiar with the word copyright? Now, when you create something that is literary, I know we have I saw our grand poet, one of my writers, I don't know where she's gone, but yes, when we have literary works, when we have artistic works, when we have dramatic and musical works that are original, you have created copyright material. So copyright, you can get copyright protection if you've created something that is original and it is literary, artistic, dramatic, or musical. You also can get copyright protection for sound recordings, whether it's something as significant as a mixed and master recording in a studio or a voice note that you send on WhatsApp. You also can get copyright protection for cable programming. So this is why, for example, you might see, just as an example, so on Saturday, we had our Freedom concert here for 40th anniversary. And for the entire show, it was being streamed live. But then when Damien Jr. Gong Malley came on the stage, the live stream said, "Thank you for watching." Mm-hmm. Because there are things called broadcasting rights. And the creators and performers who works are being broadcast they have the right to determine whether or not they want it to be broadcast to the world, because then, you know, people could rip that off of YouTube, sell CDs, and they don't benefit. So cable programming and things of this nature, these are things that you could get copyright protection for. So a poem would be an example of what kind of work? We don't do fear around here. Don't whisper it. Literary. Voice note would be what? I'll just tell you. Sound recordings. A movie would be what? Of the categories. It has to fall into one of these categories. Dramatic. Photos. Drawings. Computer programs. An app. Literary, thank you. It is computer, the code. This is considered literary work. Sketches, song lyrics, literary. So when you create things of this nature and they are original, you can get copyright protection for it. I can explain the copyright protection process to you, how you get copyright protection in 5 seconds. You dare me? Somebody time me down. Start. Start. Tell me when to start. Go. I'm done. You don't have to do anything. There is nothing to be done. It is an automatic process. Once you've created something original, it is automatic. You get automatic copyright protection. What you have to do is prove that you are the one who created it, just in case somebody later on tries to say, Carnival is we, belongs to them. So if somebody later on, Skinny Fabulous or somebody, later decides, you know, they're going to claim that as their song, we could just pull up this live stream from ECCB and say, hey, you see, it happened right here. So run with money. It belongs to us. So that's how the whole copyright music system works. Another area that comes up in the orange economy, especially for entrepreneurs, it has to do with trademarks. I'm sure lots of you are familiar with trademarks, but do you know what a trademark actually is? It is a visual element that helps to differentiate one brand from another. So if I bring 2 glasses of brown soda before you, you know which one is Coke and which one is Pepsi, if there is the Coke logo or the Pepsi logo. It's a visual element. In other areas of the world, you have sound elements, you have taste elements, you even have smell elements. But in the ECCU, we only do visual elements. So a popular example of what would qualify as a sound element, a sound trademark, would be Law and Order. What's the popular sound element? Dun dun, that dun dun sound. That is actually a sound trademark. Because when you hear that sound, your mind automatically goes to Law and Order. When you see Nike on a shoe, you have certain expectations of quality and style. When you see Fenty Beauty, you expect certain quality over some other brand that you never heard of before. So then you see the value of having these trademarks, because if somebody takes your trademark and puts it on something that is not matching your quality, and they try to sell that, you understand that this could hurt your brand. So this is why, as entrepreneurs, as you create your brands, you have to think about trademarks as ways to, certify your quality, help people have brand recognition, and of course to have quality control behind your brand. The third area of intellectual property that I will bring to your attention is patents. Again, another word that I'm sure we've all heard of. But patents protect new inventions that solve problems or introduce a new way of doing things. So before us here, we have the drawing, the actual original drawing of the drone patent from since 1962. So drone technology is not new. It was patented first in 1962. And now what patent protection does when you've created this new invention, it gives you the exclusive right to produce this invention and sell this invention. And if anybody else sells anything that is a replica or even too closely resembling what you've created, you have the legal right to sue them. So when you have these intellectual property rights, you have the control. You have the right to restrict people from using the material that you've created. So that is the whole purpose of intellectual property rights. Now, when it comes to the Orange and White economy, there are lots of ways that you could earn in these economies. But you see here from my example earlier, performance fees. If you're a performer, you're the one that's on stage, you easily can get performance fees as income. But not all performers are writers. We know that. A lot of our favorite performers don't write their own music. They have people in the back in pajama pants and rumple up here, writing for them. They're never seen. But how do these people get money? You call that, one of the ways, I should say, is royalties. Now, in our example here, the 5 of us were the songwriters, and we had a performer who did not contribute to the writing. There is a process called collective management. Not going to get too in-depth into it, but just understand. For example, the law says when somebody's intellectual property or somebody's copyright material is performed in public, they are entitled to compensation. That is a law that is in every single one of our territories. So when people who play our music or people who organize events where music is played, they have to pay for that performance. This is separate from Ethan. Ethan gets his money and he walks away. But people who organize for music to be played, for example, radio stations, event promoters, institutions, supermarkets, gyms, all these people, essentially what should happen is that those people should pay for using the music that is played in their public spaces. So there is the performance fee, but they have to pay something called a licensing fee to an organization who is representing singers, songwriters, and music publishers. So the 5 of us who write would form or would be members of what you call a CMO, or collective management organization. The one that operates in the Eastern Caribbean is called ECHO. Has anybody ever heard of ECHO? So what should happen is that people who have events should pay fees to ECHO. ECHO is going to take out their administrative costs and distribute all the money they've collected from these promoters and event organizers and distribute to the real owners of the music. So even though Ethan is all over the world performing and getting his money, the five of us, every time he performs our song, the event promoter should be paying a licensing fee that is going to eventually come back to the writers. This is how songwriters and music publishers make money. It's not just a one-off payment. So if there are any writers in here, this is an avenue where you can gain income. You don't have to be the one on the stage. But our system is a bit broken, and not everyone pays the licensing fees. I understand Central Bank is a compliant partner, so we come, yes. Yes, so Central Bank, if Central Bank plays music here, then the fees that they pay will go back to the performers whose music was used. That's not something we tell our people often. But when we see performers and people or musicians, people who want to get into music, you have to understand this is the way that people get paid. Another way people get paid in the Orange economy is from selling merchandise. So your favorite performers, you might buy t-shirts, you might buy whatever paraphernalia they're selling with their trademark. So you see how all of this ties in again? So if Clemvio now is a rising star, and he has a design that he's created with his logo, and he's selling merchandise with that design that he's created, you understand the importance of ensuring that he is the only one who gets to sell his merchandise. Because if we have bootleg copies over here, some of us going bootleg, right? Mm-hmm. Don't admit that in public, that's illegal. So having created his design, he has to have exclusive rights to determine who sells it, how it is sold, to make sure that all of the money from his merchandise comes back to him. Selling beats and samples, this is another way, this is another popular way how creative people make money in the Orange economy. Synchronization licensing is a big word, but all it means is including music into visual works. So you write a song, and it becomes the theme song for a movie. You write a song, and it becomes the background music for a video game. It's syncing music with visual. So that's why it's called synchronization. And this is a very big earner for lots of people in music. If you get your song in a TV show, can you imagine, well, can I use Golden Girls? Y'all know Golden Girls? I'm impressed. I'm impressed. Even the theme song for Golden Girls, how long has that show been on? And it continues to play. And imagine every time it plays, the people who wrote it keep collecting. Video games that you guys like. Tell me some video games that you like. All of a sudden, nobody does play video games. Right, sure. I know better. Minecraft. Now, music that is in these games there are whole arrangements and agreements for people to be able to incorporate that into video games. So for every video game that is sold, some portion of that money or some portion of money goes back to the person who wrote the music, who designed the outfits of the people in the game. Now, in the digital economy, you have things like app development. Apps are literary works, so you can get copyright protection for it. Website design, graphic design, crafting online courses. This is something that we don't see much in the Caribbean, but this is a huge thing. Like, so many people have courses in the US that you could just sign up for. You want to learn how to do something, you craft the course and you pay for it, and it's passive income. There's something you know. There is probably something that you know that somebody else is struggling to find out how to do it. Makeup, how many makeup tutorials are there on YouTube? So these are things, teaching people how to do things. This is another area in the digital economy where you can learn, where you can earn. Blogging and personal branding. Clembio spoke about this with influencers. When people start paying you to use their products because you've created such a strong professional a personal brand, these are things you could do. And in every single example I've given you, I want you all to pay very close attention to this, what I'm about to say. In every single example I've given you, there is no age requirement. There are people who are younger than you who are making money. You don't have to wait until you're 18 to get into business. I met an author of 7 books who was 6 years old from Montserrat. Well, not in Montserrat, but she lives in Trinidad, but her father is Kitisha. 6 years old, had already written 7 books. What are you doing with your life? There is no age requirement where creativity and innovation is involved. But you have to understand that the things you create, you own. And the things you own, you control. And the things you earn, you control, you earn from. But if you use other people's material without their permission, you owe them. And that is my presentation, I think. Yes. But I just want you all to see, I want you all to notice how easy things are to create as well. We just write a whole carnival hit here. No preparation, no equipment, nothing. And I promise you, we do these things on an everyday basis, but we take it for granted. There are people who are making money off of not much. Things that you would think is so simple and basic, but there are people who are interested in it. So if you know anybody in here could cook, we're the chefs. There are 2 chefs in this room because only 2 people put up their hand fast. May and trust the rest of you. They are confident. So to our 2 gentlemen behind you who confidently put up their hands, those are our chefs. So if there's something you all can cook, I would encourage you to try and maybe start a blog or something teaching people how to cook basic things. Cooking for teens. something. Give me 2 seconds, I could probably come up with a better name. But it understand that you have something to give to the world, creatively, no matter what your age is. So just take some time to understand the business behind things, how you earn, how you protect, not to give away all of your secrets, building your brands, things of this nature, and I'm sure that you all could do exceptionally well, regardless of your age. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jihan. That was wonderful. Did you guys enjoy that? Yes? Our Deputy Governor seems to have enjoyed it quite a lot. So let's go over again. Create, own, what's next? Control, next? Earn. But if it's not yours, you owe. So you got to pay, right? Remember the words copyright, patents, trademarks, royalties, right? If you create something, you own it, you control it. You got to earn from it, right? Through royalties. And the last thing, which I thought was very powerful, there's no age limit. A 6-year-old with 7 books, are you serious? 6 years old. So what is to stop you from producing something that you can market to the world? There's nothing to stop you. You just need the determination and the right guidance. Yeah? You can do it too. So don't think that, oh, this is somebody in the States, this is somebody in England, this is somebody in Germany that can do it. No, you can do it right here. This was done in Montserrat.
In Trinidad, yeah.
Well, Trinidad, via St. Kitts, via Montserrat, right? We included everybody here. So you can do it too. That's the lesson here. You can do it too. It's not just something you see on YouTube and it's like, oh, she's great, he's great. You can do it too. All right, folks? Thanks again, Jihan. Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to move to our third presentation. As I said earlier, our presenter who was supposed to be here this morning, she fell ill, and we certainly wish her well. We wish her a complete and speedy recovery. But since she put in the work, I just want to say a brief note or a brief bio on her. Her colleague, Ms. Tricia Grow-King, will do the presentation remotely. She's actually, I believe she's overseas right now, but she's agreed to do the presentation remotely on behalf of Ms. Brianna Hutchinson. So, Ms. Hutchinson is a trained teacher and teaches agricultural science, integrated science, geography, and biology at the Virchilds High School. Anybody here from Virchilds? Whoop, whoop, Virchilds. Virchilds in the house. She combines her passion for education and environmental advocacy as she utilizes performing arts and her creativity. Ms. Hutchinson's aim is to educate young minds and promote environmental literacy in society. In addition, she seeks to inspire the younger generation to develop their conservation journeys and to become devoted environmental advocates within their own spaces. Ms. Hutchinson is a part of the Angelique Dance Company. 1 minute.
That's
So,
our song.
well, that's the rhythm for the song that you just created. All right. Ms. Hutchinson is a part of the Angelique Dance Company, a group of creatives who collaborate to create various dance pieces to raise environmental and social awareness in their communities. So that's a brief primer on Ms. Brianna Hutchinson, who I said, unfortunately, is not here today. And we do wish her well. Brianna, if you're following, get well soon. And the next time, we would be happy to have you here at the ECCB to make another presentation. So I will now turn the floor over to Ms. Tricia Grow-King, who would make a presentation on awareness through dance on behalf of Ms. Brianna Hutchinson. Tricia, it's all yours.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yep.
good morning.
Yes, we can.
Yes. Okay, great. Good morning. Good morning again. And thank you, Leon, for being so gracious with Brianna and with our situation. So I'm joining you from sunny Jamaica. I'm here for a conference and from the Women in Maritime Association Caribbean, and I'm a marine biologist, and I'm also a climate justice advocate, and so and I'm also a dancer, and I'm just really appreciative of this opportunity, even though it's not under the most ideal situation, but I'm appreciative that at least we were still able to find a solution in such a short time. So I'm going to just dive in, and I'm going to probably use a lot of corny puns, so get used to it. I'm going to dive into the presentation, and awareness to dance is what the Angelique Dance Company does. And we have just formalized creating two divisions in the Angelique Dance Company. So there's the performing arts division, and then there's the project management division, because we are doing extensive work and we need to have support, really build out structured support in both areas. Okay, who are we? We operate in St. Kitts and Nevis, so we're operating as a youth group in both islands, right? And the Awareness to Dance initiative and campaign serves as an awareness tool for not just social issues, but also environmental issues. So those two things really dovetail, and we use, of course, our dance in order to create awareness. We use social media, we advocate, we encourage, we partner with several entities across the region. And so it's not just within St. Kitts and Nevis, but we really expand throughout the region to do this work. And one of the things that I'm really excited about is, as I serve on the Feminist Organizing and Climate Justice Advisory Council, through that council, we would be doing grant opportunities across the region. And Angelique would also be receiving one of those, and several entities in the three entities in St. Kitts and Nevis doing real underground work and looking at really creating proper mitigation and adaptation measures for vulnerable communities and communities that, vulnerable communities, but also inclusive communities, persons living with disabilities. But let me don't get ahead of myself. Let me scroll down. So let me go with the social advocacy. Now, this is actually what the grant is intended to fund, the end to period poverty. And I don't know if everybody knows what period poverty is, but period poverty is a global issue. And when I attended the Women's Deliver Conference in Rwanda this year, I knew this was a thing. And again, because we've been doing work on this, we've been having trainings and capacity building sessions, but some of the stories from across the globe really kind of drove home why we need to, as a group and as a nation, look to support initiatives that end period poverty. And I heard some stories that, it got me kind of emotional, because sometimes we really take things for granted, and we have to understand that we are here to do God's work, and we are here to assist and help all of our brothers and our sisters who are struggling in whatever way, whether it's as a result of climate change, or is it as a result of socioeconomic realities. Now, the Rhythm campaign. Rhythm is looking at inclusivity, and we are launching an initiative and I'm smiling because I'm just so happy about this initiative. We are launching an initiative, and Brianna is actually the project manager on this, looking at teaching dance and folklore for children living with disabilities. And so we have an extensive program rolled out, and we are looking forward to continuing to engage, because we have been engaging, and it's a continuation and really scaling up of what we've been doing. And when it comes to, so griot, griot is, so the way it's spelled here is actually the West African way. And this was by no means a reflection of my name before I was married, but it's the griot in West African culture is a storyteller. And so we tell these stories, and there would be historical, folklore, cultural stories as well. And so the black and white image is actually one thing we did about Beto Douglas. So I'm going to just say Beto Douglas, and then y'all are going to research it. And later this month, we're actually going to be doing another presentation on Beto Douglas at the Independence Night of Dance. And so if you attend that, you would also be able to see us and learn more about Beto Douglas after, of course, you've done your research. And so you would see the significance of why we do what we do even more. Looking at climate justice again, we have been doing some incredible work when it comes to environmental advocacy. This slide, the next slide, I'm hoping that we're in sync, but the next slide is actually showing our Earth Day video. And we've been doing work with, so as a marine biologist, there's a little bias in here. And so our Sea Life CSKN is a visual campaign about the marine environment. And this was actually grant funded by the Jeff Small Grants proposal. So that was something that really, really did some good work. And we touched on not just large scale murals across both islands of St. Kitts and Nevis. We went into schools and did marine awareness education, and that is something that is going to be continuing and help to foster the evolution of the SKN Reef Guardians NGO. So there's some real work being done on the ground to look at really educating persons about climate change and about how it impacts. Again, St. Kitts and Nevis is the smallest country in the Western Hemisphere. And so we really have to understand that climate change impacts us way more than we can ever truly imagine. And so we have to be prepared for that. We have to be able to respond and be resilient to those impacts. Now, the creative economy. And so, okay, I just talked about a lot of blue and teal and green economy initiatives. So now I'm going to tie in the orange initiative. Again, it was tied in too, but now I'm mixing all of the colors together and exploding a kaleidoscope of colors as we look at all of the things that really can help with the creative economy, looking at the economic impacts. Now, when we look at jobs, so I just said about our dance group splitting to 2 divisions. When we have under the project management aspect of it, we will be able to actually employ persons to implement some of these projects that we are carrying out. So it's not just, you don't just get paid to dance for the performing aspect, but you can actually get employment under that division. And this is just for my dance group, right? But in terms of across St. Kitts and Nevis, jobs and the ability to move from one, and I'm going to say social status, from one social status or one level of economic development, that's better, to another is really where we have seen it, where we have felt it, is really through the exploration of jobs from the creative economy. And again, it's your skill, it's your talent, it's your purpose, it's your goal, is your energy, is your creativity, is your life, is your vibe. And you're able to now use that to make money off of that in a way that can sustain your livelihood. And it is so incredible because you get to do what you love every day. And even though, I mean, I know some of you might not be able to really fathom this, as sometimes it's difficult, sometimes you have a lot of orders come through and it can be overwhelming. But at the end of the day, when you look at your end product and you're like, oh my God, I created that. That is something that I can do. And I actually got paid for it. I didn't just do it and just, it just went there. I got paid for it and I'm able to make a livelihood off of it. It is really satisfying. Again, it is really satisfying. And I can tell you this from personal experience because in my life, this is what I do. This is literally what I do. And this is what the dancers of the Angelique Dance Company, this is what we do. And so I'm just glimmer is a word that we learned the other day. And I mean, like during the day, you just have this great sensation, this happy sensation. And we literally have glimmers all the time in Angelique because we are doing what we love and we are making a real impact. And it is very gratifying. And being able to make money off of that is just a cherry on top of the cake. We are able to promote and fuel industries such as tourism, agriculture, education, and all of these. So when we look at tourism, we are looking at adding value to our GDP. When we talk about agriculture and food security, we are feeding ourselves. We are feeding ourselves as a nation. And education, again, education is one of the key tools for economic upliftment, for you to be able to really navigate through life and make meaningful contributions. Increasing our foreign trade through the export of creative goods and services, we are able to contribute to the economic growth and our GDP development, and again, provide opportunities that would attract potential investors. St. Kitts and Nevis might be small, but again, small but Talawa. Our size is not an indicator of our potential in any way, means, shape, or form. Our size then propelled us to be able to use that opportunity to really maximize our potential. And so if we need funding to come in so that we can then expand, that is something that we merely need to explore, and we can do that easily, almost feasibly, through the work of the creative economy. So what are the things that you actually find in the creative economy? What are some of the areas? You have art galleries, and I said art galleries first because I'm biased and I'm an artist and I'm a painter, and so art galleries, again, just resonate with me. Architecture, interior design, you have entertainment, you have fashion, you have visual, performing arts, toys creation, publishing, printing. I mean, I know you just heard from Williams, but Williams Knight, about publishing and protecting yourself as a creative and how that can really maximize your economic benefit and development. You have all the digital media, and you're going to hear about, I don't know if the presenter went before, I couldn't hear the whole thing, but you're going to hear about digital media and the impact of that and the opportunities created around that. And it is really incredible that we have this opportunity, and as young persons in St. Kitts and Nevis, and I identify as young, right? As young persons in St. Kitts and Nevis, to really get that opportunity to explore all these things that we love and we enjoy, and then we're able to, again, create a livelihood and sustain ourselves and sustain others, our communities, and our region, right? And our world. So it's not just individual, but it really scales up to exponential potential. Oh, that sounds nice, eh? Exponential potential. You have exponential potential at your fingertips. I got ahead of myself. I'm following my slides now. Okay, so a part of the benefits of the creative economy, and again, I covered this, but I'm going to go through because the slide is there, so I'm just going to expand on it a little more. One of the things that really stood out to me was promote personal, community, and national identity. Listen, everywhere I go, I mean, I wear jewelry. I literally have on a St. Kitts and Nevis, locally made by Island Jewelers, locally made St. Kitts and Nevis bracelet. I represent St. Kitts and Nevis throughout. Again, I wear, well, I don't have it on today, but I have my jewelry on, and I represent St. Kitts and Nevis in so many different ways. And you can become an ambassador for St. Kitts and Nevis and really craft what our identity is moving forward. Again, we just celebrated 40 years. Listen, we just celebrated 40 years, and we have not scratched the surface yet. We have so much more to do. We have so much more to go and just expand and grow and flourish and thrive. And it is really an incredible opportunity. And when it comes to innovation and just having a very different perspective, we have a very different perspective on life. And we have a very different perspective to persons who have a different background to us. And so being able to have those opportunities, utilize the resources to maximize our innovation potential is just an incredible spot to be in. And I'm getting goosebumps because I'm getting so excited about this. And we're able to really provide creative mechanisms for individuals to express their creativity. Listen, the things that I'm wearing right now, let me see. This was locally crafted. So I have the material is from Africa, from Kenya, but I made sure that we had a local entrepreneur saw this in a design that we came up with together. When I tell you, I am a walking advocate for St. Kitts and Nevis and the creative industry, and you can be that too. All right. Now, I just want to kind of give some acknowledgements to my incredible executive team. Ms. Davicia Simmons, she is my vice president. And because of work, I have to travel quite a bit. And so when I'm off island, like right now, she is there running, and I have full confidence, like complete confidence. Everything is going to get done. Everything is going to be done. And with a standard of excellence. Ashira Brandy, so we call her like the hat of our dance group because she's so rational. And again, these persons joined when they were teens, and their growth and development has been something that I admire in them. So as much as they look to me as a leader, I also look to them as leaders and take direction and instruction and guidance from them. Tassia Jones, our public relations officer, she's a powerhouse. And of course, Brianna Hutchinson, the Raven project manager and one of our leads on the project management division. I just want to repeat that where I said, you have exponential potential, utilizing the creative economy and being able to really use that as the catalyst for your growth is something that I just want to, that would be my final parting words. And I really just want to thank you again for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Tricia Griot King, for your presentation and for filling in at the very last minute. Filling in at the very last minute for Ms. Brianna Hutchinson, all the way from Jamaica. So thank you once again, Tricia. If I could just leave with you just two things that she said. One, You have exponential potential. I think that is something that has reverberated throughout the three presentations. That you don't limit yourself to Anguilla, to a Montserrat, to St. Kitts and Nevis, to a Grenada, St. Vincent, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Don't limit yourself to your country, because you have exponential potential. Write that down. That's like the pastor saying, take out your pen and paper and write it down, right? Also, Trisha was repping her country. We all have to rep our countries. And not just our country, because we have to think beyond our country. We have to rep our region, rep the ECCU, rep the Caribbean, right? You said something about St. Kitts, but was it we small but we talawa. All these islands are small, but they talawa, all of them. A lot of times we hit above our weight class. We have Olympic champions. Right here, St. Kitts and Nevis, Kim Collins won the world championship in 100 meters. I mean, little St. Kitts and Nevis, a world champion. We have Kirani James from Grenada, has won gold, silver, and bronze in Olympics, 3 consecutive Olympics. Hello.
Zanet.
We have Julian Alfred from St. Lucia, who's doing things. I didn't forget y'all, right? We have musicians, we have entertainers, we have poets, we have all people of all walks of life who are doing big things in the world. So you have exponential potential. I'm going to remember that line. That's going to be one of my favorite lines going forward. If I ever have to speak to young people, Trisha, copyright that. I will pay you some royalties. I will pay you in kind. I will pay you in food.
Me to copyright it, and so I'm giving you permission to use it at this time.
That would be your trademark. You can't copyright two words.
Right. Trademark. Copyright. Thank you.
So I love to cook, so I will pay you in kind. I'll cook you some food.
Oh, and he knows exactly what I love to eat from Grenada. So
okay.
I will get in bed. Food security for a very long time. Thank you,
so
Leon.
that will be our little secret. We don't want to divulge that information to everybody now. That'll be between the two of us. All right. So remember, folks, rep your country.
Right.
Rep your country. Rep the ECCU. Rep the Caribbean. Because we all small, but we talawa. Yeah? Thank you so much again to the 3 presenters. Let's give them a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. So we plan to wrap up by 12, and just to whet your appetite, kids here. Ladies and gentlemen, let me not call you kids. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a wonderful lunch prepared for you afterwards, so you have something to look forward to, right? So don't leave because you're gonna miss out, all right? So what we're going to do next is to invite members of the Regional Youth Parliament, persons who are here from the 8 countries of the ECCU. We're just going to invite one person each to just give their impressions of the 3 presentations. We ask you to keep it very short so that we can then entertain questions from everybody here and those who are logged in online. So let's keep it short, to the point. Just give us your general impressions of each of the 3 presentations. One person will do 1 each, right? So we'll have 3 summaries, if you will, or whatever your impressions were of the presentations. Then we'll open the floor for questions and answers, okay? So Kamali, I will have you instruct your folks to just say something briefly, please.
Okay, no problem. So there are 3 of them, which is Mr. Oscar Brown from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Mr. Ezekiel Francois, who's from Antigua and Barbuda, specifically Barbuda, and Miss Karina, I always mess up your last name, Blash. From where again? From Grenada, even better. And so each of them are going to be focusing on the 3 areas: the orange economy, the white economy, and then my personal favorite, intellectual property. So, who has, Oscar has orange economy, who, white? Okay, so the lovely lady from Grenada will begin because she's dealing with the orange economy, correct? And then Oscar will continue, and then my fellow countryman from the other island will finish off. Good?
Great.
All right, so Karina, you have the floor.
Ms. Blash, it's all yours.
Okay, so hi, good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Karina Blash, and I am from the lovely Spice Isle of the Caribbean, Grenada. So, firstly, I wish to congratulate the ECCB on their 40th anniversary, and thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. And secondly, I must say kudos to the Angelic Dance Group for their creativity, their diversity, and commitment to the cause. They're doing excellent work with regards to providing assistance to vulnerable groups, but they have adopted a very non-conventional and unique way of doing that, right? Like she explained, the awareness to dance group, it's a unique concept. It's an interesting way of combining the blue economy with the orange economy, and I'm sure that it has given us a lot of perspective for some persons who would have wanted to pursue a particular career path, but also wanted to dabble in the creative arts. So this is a very interesting way of combining the two because they are raising awareness of pertinent social, economic, environmental issues through dance. It would have been very interesting to probably have a video presentation to see how exactly they combine the two, but kudos to them for that. We will remember that we have exponential potential. And of course, I know that each one of us inside here, we have some sort of talent or some sort of skill that we may be able to, to embrace and further develop. And like, I can't remember her name, as she would have explained earlier, your ideas are your own. You can earn from it. And so I know that when we leave here today, mostly all of us would probably be going and Google ways of, turning our talents and our ideas into something profitable, right? And I know that you would have explained to us a bit, you would have clarified some concepts as to why it is that when we post a reel on Instagram, we need to make sure we put a disclaimer that says, I do not own copyrights to this music, or why we might have to pay for a design on Canva. And so I think that the creative industry has a lot of scope, it has a lot of potential, and so do we. And I know that we as young persons, we can do great things once we channel our inner creativity. That's all from me.
Thank you so much. Ms. Blatch, thank you very much for that. So then we have Mr. Oscar Brown from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Oscar, let's give him a round of applause.
All right, good morning, everyone. I want to especially recognize the Governor and Deputy Governor of the Central Bank, and also congratulate the Central Bank on their 40th anniversary. I have been tasked with responding to the presentation on the white economy. I am going to be very, very brief. I just have 2 points to raise to us this morning. The first one is that I appreciate the fact that you mentioned that there are opportunities in the white economy for young people. Because as we will be debating tomorrow on youth violence within the region, I think that these opportunities provided in the white economy is a way in which youth can distract themselves and take themselves away from violence, right? Secondly, I want to reiterate the point made by the Deputy Governor and by yourself that we need to watch what we post on social media because it is a reflection of who we are, right? So I encourage, the youth parliamentarians, the students, and those looking to go into politics specifically to watch what we post on social media. That is all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Brown. Next we'll have Ezekiel from Barbuda, Antigua and Barbuda.
Well, you can just say Barbuda, All I say.
Specifically Barbuda.
Yes.
All right, Ezekiel.
So good day. All protocols observed. Congrats to the ECCB. I've been tasked with responding to what I think is the best presentation today. Jihan, you did a wonderful job. Despite the cold, you really brought the heat. So I really, it was really nice. intellectual property, I think you really dove into it that I can take 5 seconds to just finish up what I have to say, because I think you really went in depth. But one thing I'd like to say is to everyone here, really don't take this with a grain of salt. We're all young, but I don't think the Caribbean people really take IP rights very seriously. We all do a lot of stuff. All of us are on TikTok, all of us make TikToks, all of us do a lot of stuff, we create stuff. But we don't really see the importance of, okay, let's own something. And this is important. One thing that wasn't mentioned also, it's important to also cultural preservation, you know? Recipes, stuff like that. It's really important. So I want everybody here to know that, hey, we're young, you know? Even though you're young, don't think that you're too young to be great. Don't just come here today and think, okay, you know, I heard about IP rights and all that, and all right, what do I do? If you have to visit Jihan at the IP office and learn more, and I do hope that after this, you know, if it's not done before, that maybe you can, you know, teach it throughout the schools of St. Kitts and Nevis. I think, you know, you make a great teacher.
Thank you.
Yes, because I think it's something that needs to be really taken serious, because out of everything that has been said here, even in Antigua and Barbuda, we don't take IP rights seriously. So there's not much I have to say to the presentation, because I think you covered everything robust, but to everybody here, just please do your best. If you have a 6-year-old out here writing 7 books, I'd even read 2 books a year, right? So guys, you guys are young. I mean, I'm still young, but I'm not that young. Take the time now and really, you know, see what you can do to make a difference. Make some money, you know, because money is really important. So if you have a talent, if you have a skill, if you can write, if you can cook, see how you can take that into passive income, because trust me, when you get to the adult world, you're going to need it. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much, Ezekiel. So I will borrow another line, I will add it to my 2 lines. The first one was you have exponential potential, which we talked about. I owe some food to Trisha Grill for that. And you just said, you're not too young to be great. So I may owe you some royalties as well, right? So we'll talk afterwards to see how I can transfer some of that future income through food. All right, so we have 2 lines. You have exponential potential, you're not too young to be great. Keep those 2 with you, please. All right? At this stage, we want to open the floor for questions. Students, you've been here listening. You've heard quite a lot this morning. You've been entertained. Hopefully, you've been enriched with the presentations. If you have any questions for the presenters here, and let me apologize for Mrs. Grill King. She's actually attending a conference in Jamaica right now, so she had to leave to attend the other conference, the real reason why she's in Jamaica. So she's not present virtually to answer your questions at this point. But if you have any questions for the 2 presenters before you here today, feel free to raise your hand. I will acknowledge you and then allow you to ask your question. So the floor is now open for questions. Ezekiel, you want to open the batting?
Yes, I want to ask a question to Ms. Jihan. I know in Antigua and Barbuda it's very hard when it comes to registering a business. It's a very long process and it takes a lot of money. I want to know, like, what's the process here? Is it simpler? If you could
To
go
register a business?
Yes.
Well, I'm not quite sure what the process is to register a business, but I know that is one of the focuses for the Small Business Development Ministry, where they're trying to streamline the process, because everyone complains, you have to go Inland Revenue for this, you have to go here for that, you have to do this for that. So streamlining the process is something that I believe the Ministry of Finance and Small Business is working on. But I'm not, our office does not deal with registering businesses. We deal specifically with the registration of intellectual property. But I think that's something that as young people you need to advocate for. The processes in government are too complicated and cumbersome. Let's try to think about ways we could streamline and simplify things so that it's not a deterrent to young people to actually open a business.
I would like to add that can be solved through digital solutions.
Easily, yes.
Indeed.
Yes.
Indeed. Thank you so much. Question to the back? Yes, Madam Andrew. Please introduce yourself and then ask your question.
Good morning. I am Jazar Andrew from the St. Kitts National Youth Parliament Association. My question is on digital media. You spoke about artificial intelligence, and we all know that artificial intelligence is becoming more prominent and popular. What are the odds, you think, of more people pushing artificial intelligence for a main source of all of these things that we as humans do digitally?
I think that there's a big threat. There's a major threat to the fabric of how we do business, how we do the creative spaces. One of those things can be seen recently with in the United States. The Actors Guild would have been they've been striking as a result of they feel as if their rights are being infringed upon by the networks and so forth. Netflix even as well would have made a whole movie or series about how persons' lives are being utilized in, or even their images being used in the media space. Because in artificial intelligence today, you can easily replicate my face saying something else. That is my likeness, that is my intellectual property, but it's such a vague space at this time because it's all emerging, it's all new. So that's one of the issues that they had, because it would be very simple for the for companies, large companies that create movies and so forth, to say, for instance, Denzel Washington. Let's take Denzel Washington. He's aging out, but his image is one that people gravitate to, his voice, his tone, and all of that. And let's use CGI and have him placed in a movie scene, and everything that's done is a CGI. We're not utilizing Denzel. And as a result, we don't necessarily have to pay him. Or if we do have to pay him, it might be very minimal, as opposed to him physically acting, using his knowledge and skills and his likeness within that space. So there's a major gray area right now, and there's a lot of persons advocating against it. Even more so, there are a lot of implications for persons' income and just their personal lives as well, and their businesses. So it's still a lot of contention there, and I think we need to be very cautious with how we address it.
Thank you very much. Give me your name again, please. Oscar Brown, yes. You have a question? Then we
Yes.
come to you.
Still related to AI, do you think that, I'm speaking to Mr. Hodge, do you think that AI has a way of taking over the majority of the workforce, in that, we have people going to 9-to-5 jobs, Monday to Friday? Do you think that, AI would be able to replace all of them and still maintain that, normality?
I believe that it won't be possible. The reason for that is because AI, I don't think it would ever, and I might be wrong, be able to accomplish the empathy that us as human beings have. I was speaking last night with Wendy about this same topic, where it is important to have a human element. Humans are able to analyze a situation from an empathetic standpoint, whereas AI may be more analytical with it. And an example of that may be, for instance, you might have an issue with an application form that you have on a website or so forth, and you may search online for all the answers. You may go on ChatGPT, and it will list a whole bunch of answers for you, but it still doesn't solve the issue that you have. Whereas speaking to someone online might provide you a better answer and even make you feel a lot more consoled, even if it's the same information that they're providing. So I believe that it will not completely eliminate our jobs. I do believe, though, that we need to have what I would like to term a redeployment of persons with skills that are capable of utilizing artificial intelligence. And that's, well, artificial intelligence in one space, but also just the digital elements as well. Because we need those new skills to accomplish that. One of the examples I like to pose is for ChatGPT. A lot of people utilize it, and you have to put in these, what you want to accomplish, what you want it to answer. And if you're unable to specifically put that information in, you won't get out the answer that you want. Even more so, it may provide you with a long list or a long answer that looks good, but you as a person needs to go in and analyze that information that is provided to ensure that it is succinct, to make sure that it answers what you want to have answered. And for instance, if you're asking a question about SYNCITS, you want to make sure that it doesn't speak about Australia in there because something is mentioned in Australia about SYNCITS. That kind of thing is what we have to be able to understand and address. And I think it boils down to just our understanding, our core understanding of how to relay information and utilize these technologies to the best of their ability.
Thank you for that answer. Just to say that while some persons may be displaced by the increasing use of AI, as Mr. Hodge clearly stated, there will always be the need for that human element, right? And it just means that we may then have to take on new skills, learn new skills to be able to use that AI in the emerging sectors that are coming on stream. So I doubt that we will ever be fully replaced, right? There's always need. Without humans, how is the world going to work? You're right? We do need that human element. So we have a question from the front. Actually, before we go to you, let's give one of the students an opportunity, right? So we have a student here who had her hand up, and then we'll go to the right over here. So please, just tell us who you are, what school you're representing, and ask your question.
Hi, my name is Soraya Williams Powell, and I attend the Virgils High School. My question is for Ms. Gian, and I wanted to ask you, we saw in Ms. Trisha's presentation, we saw that she used non-conventional ways to promote, she used dance, she used a non-conventional way to promote something that is very critical in our economy. So, as we know that intellectual property is very critical in our economy, but as stated by multiple people, it's not something that we focus on. So do you have any suggestions of non-conventional ways in which we can induce people to focus on intellectual property?
Ooh, this is what I do every day, trying to encourage people to take it seriously, from the top to the bottom. It's not something, because for us, I talked about creating, but we do this every day. But we don't realize that we're creating something that is property. For example, tourists come to the island and they say, "Oh my God, this is so good. How did you cook this?" And you're glad for the mic. So you go on and you tell them that this, you put it on the pot for this long, you're mixing this, you do this, and then they go and then they make it into a product and sell it. You have this skill. You had it, they learned it from you. But we don't recognize that there is a lot of value in what we do naturally. So one of the things that I try to do is to encourage people to see what they do on an everyday basis as property, as valuable. And it's something that I would challenge people to do, all of you here, especially as young people who are more digitally inclined, who would faster go on YouTube and do videos, who would build a website, who are more inclined to do this, to see what you do on an everyday, regular basis as creation of property. And think about it as the potential of a business. Another thing that I think is important for people to understand is, don't be afraid that somebody else is already doing it. Do it differently. How many people have written romance novels? There are millions of romance novels, the same storyline, boy meets girl, girl is playing hard to get, falls in love with the wrong guy, old guy is waiting in the wings until something happens. It's the same basic storyline in so many books, but people have written it differently. Where is your version? You could write it. You could produce it. But if you understand that what you're creating and writing is property that you could earn from, that you could sell, that you could transfer, that you could lease, then you would understand that you're probably sitting on a gold mine right now. So my job is to help people understand that we're sitting on gold mines. And hopefully I plant a little seed in everybody's head here to go home and think, like, what could do? What could sell? What could produce? What could manage? Because you're probably already doing it in your life already. If you are on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and writing posts, you are creating intellectual property. Because if somebody goes and copy and paste what you took your time to write and sell it, that's something that you could have earned from as well.
Indeed, indeed. Let me just repeat something she just said. There's a lot of value in what we do naturally, right? It's the creation of property. The other thing is, don't be afraid to do what somebody is already doing. Just do it differently. Add value, right? Hope that resonates with you. There was a young lady to the left over here. We'll come back to the front afterwards, but the young lady to my right, please introduce yourself and ask your questions.
Hi, good morning. I'm Mira Rogers, and I'm representing the Bastia High School, and my question is for Mr. Hodge. You said that artificial intelligence is basically causing unemployment and basically you could say taking over eventually. How do you think humans will be able to survive and have income to go on with their daily lives?
Okay, so there will always be a place for humans. As we would have learned in IT, machines are such that there's an input, there's a process, there's an output. We always need someone to do the input. And we also need that person to be well-trained and versed in doing that input. Like I would have mentioned about ChatGPT, unless you put in information that is succinct and straight to point to what you want delivered, you'll never get the response that you would like to get. Equally, it's important for us to develop digital skills. As I would have said earlier, redeploy our workforce to be able to work within this sphere. It is emerging, it's new. We are not sure the extent of the demands that are going to be on our workforce, but we're continually learning. And just like AI is a learning technology that is able to learn and supply information, equally, that is what humans do. But humans go a bit further in analyzing situations from an emotional standpoint, an empathetical standpoint, and can provide information around that the technology may not be able to do. Because we may read persons' body languages, we may also understand them from a cultural standpoint, and where their input may not be succinct enough, we can add the little pieces that are necessary for us to give them the answer that they need, guide them to the right direction, and assist them to the conclusion that they are looking for. So there'll always be a place for us, but we have to be prepared to learn new skills to be able to survive in this space.
If I could add something to that as well, I think we also have to look at what is supporting AI. Because we could have all this conversation about AI, but if current gone, everything shut down.
Yeah,
so are we encouraging people to get into mechanical and electrical engineering, learning the infrastructure to support internet, all of these things? If we don't have those basics, then as much as we want to talk about AI, it really would not be relevant. So it's for a lot of you as students now, as you're going through your academic careers, think about the areas, look at where the world is going, and try to position yourself in a way that you could not be replaced easily.
Thank you so much. So we'll go to the front here. Please introduce yourself. Yeah, we'll go back to the back afterwards. Please introduce yourself and ask your question.
My name is Marika Batiste, and I'm one of the representatives from St. Vincent, and my question is for Mr. Hodge. In St. Vincent, we have the national iCode competitions, which is where we have students from across the country coming to present app ideas or even making their own apps. So it's an initiative, that it's supposed to help them to, think critically. But the problem, or it has shortcomings, is that after the person wins or they have their app selected, nothing really is done, so they can't find an avenue to get their app implemented or get their idea established, especially with businesses owned by the older generation, because if they don't understand the technology, they don't trust it. So my question is, what do you suggest, what are the steps possibly that they could take to help to implement their apps in the country so that they don't feel like it's just for the competition and not something they can do with their life?
That's a very good question. Very good question. I think the issue that you're facing there is not only in the apps, but in general, from business standpoint, from personal standpoint, that there will always be a divide, a generational divide between understanding how things work and accomplishing the goals that we have. One of the ways of dealing with that is as simple as we are here in this space as youth leaders and persons of the future, but the future that is today, and utilizing our voice in spaces like this to show and to elaborate on the fact that these technologies are here, they're present, and they are important to us. Equally, like you may have watched like Shark Tank and those kind of stuff, it's very important to be able to pitch your idea and to convince people to take on what you would like them to do. So it could also be from the standpoint of the persons that win to go a step further and present that in a way that persons definitely can't have another option but to take it on, In addition, even looking at your audience as not only your country, but the wider sphere. Because if you're able to somehow make that app work outside of your country, then you show that its success is one that is necessary within the country as well. And we're not bounded by physical spaces through the digital realm. So there are opportunities that might exist in that space. So I do believe that it will take a lot. It takes a lot to do any change. That's why some businesses have change management company, departments and all of that, divisions, because change is not easy. There are so many stakeholders involved in it, and us as young people can be revolutionary in that change. So, I would advise any young persons that go into business or even in this app competition to have the vision that it will not be an easy task, but you have to be willing and able to work together with your team and even other adults who may understand and believe in you to make that your voice loud enough that people hear you and make it happen. Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. We go to Mr. Hodge. Ethan?
Ethan
Harrigan, sorry, Mr. Ethan Harrigan. My
Good morning,
apologies.
everyone. My name is Ethan Harrigan, and I'm a representative from the Anguilla Youth Parliament. So before I ask my question, I'd just like to quickly add on to a point Mr. Hodge was making, in that with AI, let's say there's an accountant, right? And there's an AI software that does accounting super fast. That accountant won't necessarily lose their job as an accountant, but that accountant can develop the skill of using that AI tool, which would just help them if they're self-employed or working for a business. It will only help their job, like they operate faster and be more efficient and so on. So with my question now, it's quite mixed. I'll just go on and ask it. So Mr. Hodge, you mentioned a challenge that will be faced is like receiving payments, like especially in the Caribbean region, and if you're looking to expand your business globally, there's difficulties in accepting payments, like wire transfers would be very difficult. So I know that the ECCB has an app called Dcash, and I was wondering, at least within the ECCU, if persons like me and all these students here today would be able to use Dcash and somehow get like legality behind it, so you can have intellectual property, whatever contracts are necessary to run whatever business you're doing, and accept payments and send payments through Dcash, even being underage, not underage, because yeah, you understand what I'm trying to say.
So we actually you have that capability right now. You can send and receive cash across the ECCU. So you're not able to do so outside of the ECCU at this point in time. It's something that the bank would look into as we go forward. But at this present moment, you can actually send and receive cash at no cost to you. The governor always says it's the faster, safer, cheaper way of sending money across the region. So if you download the app, you have an account at a bank, you link your bank account to that app, and somebody else on the other side has the app and an account and so forth, you can easily send money to each other, send and receive money at no cost, and it's transferred instantaneously. So you do have that ability right now, and we want to thank the governor and the ECCB for making that possible.
And I use it.
And GHAN uses it, right? This is something that the bank funded. Commercial banks did not have to put up a penny to do that. The ECCB funded that, all right? And it's available to all residents of the ECCU, and you can send money to any of the 8 islands. Send or receive money at no cost to you. All right?
Thank you.
Yeah, it's new, so for us, I know about it, but it's a matter of having more persons within the community accept it as a means of payment, be it your businesses and also the individuals as well. So I think that's one of the things that we're missing, but we are growing towards that. But on the international space, it is still a challenge that we face. For myself, one of our unique selling points has been the ability to receive online payments for the experiences booked through my Business Quest experiences. And that was one that I spent probably 5-6 years just trying to find a proper solution for. I have been able to do so. However, it's still something that is not really as prevalent. So a lot of other businesses on Anguilla and in other countries are not doing so as yet. Yeah, so I understand your point there.
It's something that I think we need to promote a lot more, because for example, why I got it was I wrote a book and it's being sold in Antigua right now. And how I used to get money, the person who is doing business for me in Antigua, she would go to the airport and ask somebody to bring the money to me.
Wow.
That's where we're coming from. So when I heard about Dcash, and understood this is what we could do, then it's easier now for even the people who are selling my books in Antigua to just deposit, send me the money there, so that we don't have to do this whole airport thing anymore. Yeah. So that's something that you could think about. You could easily have clients in St. Kitts and Nevis if you're in St. Vincent, and you just have this easy transfer of money because you need to get paid. So it's a solution I think we need to promote more, especially for young people who are perhaps more amenable to using digital currency.
Indeed.
Thank you.
So,
and also, sorry, a solution that I've tried and worked for me is that if any of you have a relative or close friend that you trust that's in a developed country, I'll give an example, the UK, and they have a bank account there, there's an app called Stripe, which is like you can make invoices and get paid from anywhere in the world once somebody has a card, and you can ask that person to set up a Stripe account and just operate it like under your business name, and then you can receive most of your transactions through them, and then privately through that person that you trust, you can work out a way to get that money to you too.
So
Okay.
I also use JAD as well. I've received international payments through JAD as well. JAD Cash.
Right. So there's a growing ecosystem of payment solutions, but we definitely want to emphasize and market Dcash.
Yes.
This is created by us, for us.
Yes.
Right? So let's use it, and you know, with the governor's permission, Madam Williams-Knight, we may have to use you as a walking advertisement for Dcash. So, Governor, we may want to consider. We will be in touch with you shortly, right? Because you are an actual user and you're reaping the benefits.
I just signed up, and the person who I do business with in Antigua told me she has it. So we're about to do that transfer.
Fantastic. All right, let me go to the back. I think somebody had their hands raised at the very back, and we'll come back to the front afterwards. Please introduce yourself and ask your question.
Good morning. Everybody could hear me?
Yes.
Good morning. My name is Zara Prince. I am an upcoming entrepreneur and a future CEO.
Please speak a little bit more loudly.
We don't do fear around
And a
here.
future
Thank
CEO
you.
of Royal Treatment.
There you go.
I would like to know, how does one come about copyrighting a business name?
A business name?
Yes, ma'am.
Trademark. So remember, copyright has to do with literary, artistic, dramatic, musical works, sound recordings, and cable programming. When you now start to talk about the elements that help to differentiate your brand or help with brand recognition, you talk about trademarks. So you trademark your business name. You don't copyright your business name, okay? So to trademark, for copyright, you saw my fantastic 5-second presentation on how to copyright. But with trademarks, it's different. You have to register your trademark. It is done through your intellectual property offices throughout the Eastern Caribbean. So even if you have intellectual property questions and you're not from St. Kitts and Nevis, find your intellectual property office in your respective country. The process is an application. There are 2 application forms. Our system is so old, but we're moving towards digital. I've promised my minister that we're going to go 100% digital with trademark registration by next year, because we need to get out of this paper nonsense. So it's 2 forms that you would have to complete, and there's a process that you have to identify what class or classes your trademark is going to be used for. So for example, Nike is registered in the class that deals with shoes and clothing, as one example. That means that nobody else doing shoes and clothing would be able to use Nike as a trademark or anything that is close to that. So whatever business you're doing, you have to identify what goods or services you're selling, and we have to find the class to put that in. But it's a process that you'll have to go through at the intellectual property office, and I'm warning you, it's not cheap. It's not cheap, but it's something that it's insurance. That's what I tell people. When people ask me what I do, I sell insurance. I sell insurance for creativity. That's my job.
Would this be internationally expensive?
No, trademark protection is based on your jurisdiction everywhere across the world. So you would, if you register it in St. Kitts and Nevis, it protects you in St. Kitts and Nevis. If you're doing business in the U.S. and you want protection in the U.S., you also have to do an application in the U.S. as well. It's territorial protection.
As a Canadian, how would I go about doing that?
As
in
a
St.
Canadian?
Kitts. Yes.
It's not dependent on your
It doesn't matter.
nationality.
As a 17-year-old, how do I go about doing that?
You get your mama or your daddy.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much for the question. It was a practical one. The young lady here had a question, then we go to the right afterwards.
Okay.
Please introduce
Good.
yourself.
Yes, Crystal. Good morning. I am Crystal Percival from Antigua and Barbuda. I have about 2 questions for Mr. Hodge. The first one, I know you spoke a little bit on the virtual assistants, and I wanted to know, do you believe that it may have a negative impact in the education system, given that plagiarism is a big thing? And what I realized with these virtual assistants is that it does not provide much references where you can reference in your essay or let's say any work that you have to produce. Now, for the students here, I'm asking that question because, you know, as you go on to tertiary level, especially in university, plagiarism can get you expelled, it can get you stripped of your bachelor's and even your master's degree. So how can you, you know, as we go into the digital lifestyle, how can we protect our young people when it comes to the virtual assistant? And then my second question would be, as we get more involved into the digital, how are you targeting the older generation when it comes to online banking, online payments? As you see, we went through COVID, the pandemic, where we had to be forced to do a lot of things online, and the older generation are not much acceptable to it. Like Mrs., can you remember your name?
GN Works.
Yeah, yes. Spoke about, you know, the paperwork. I still do believe in paper and also digital, but how can you, you know, target the older generation?
So the first one on plagiarism, that's a very, very important thing because for me, I went to university and they don't joke about that. The reason we go to school is to be able to utilize the skills and knowledge that we gain in real world situations. And to utilize an online system to answer all the questions that you have and not have at least a fundamental understanding about that information will leave you in a rut the day that the current goes out and you can't access that information, or you know, you don't have access to a computer or a phone. So that's why it's very important for us as persons to know this information. It's as simple as saying, okay, you have a robot that is what washes your clothes, but if the current goes out, you don't know how to wash your clothes, you know. So what would you do then? It's very important for you to focus on the information and the knowledge that is passed on to you by your teachers. But then also from the other perspective of plagiarism, copywriting, and so forth, this is also part of that. The person that wrote that information or did the research around it, they have ownership and they need to be recognized for that work that they did. And by not recognizing them, that you're essentially stealing. And for us in the wider world, stealing is, you can go to jail for stealing, right? So likewise in school, that's why we're reprimanded when we plagiarize. And at university level, you can lose your degrees and be kicked out of the university. So it's really important. Yes, you can utilize these virtual assistants because it helps. We utilize, you know, the Google to do our research. We type in how to do this and that, then we can go on and we check and read. And that helps us shape our understanding of a particular topic. However, we still have to go now and create our own work, create our own work around it, and also recognize those that would have done that. You would have mentioned that the virtual assistants don't cite any person's work.
No.
So that is a limitation of that. And that is also a way for us to not only utilize it for doing our work in copying and pasting. So students, I would say, do not depend on ChatGPT and these other virtual assistants to do your work. Do it independently because it is best for you to do so. It's best for you to learn and to be able to recite and utilize that knowledge that you have at any time, anywhere. And your second question, can I just...
Older people.
How do we target the older generation to get more involved within the digital lifestyle?
Yes. So I would have mentioned earlier that it's rather difficult for the older generation to migrate to utilizing smartphones, computers, and so forth. Many of them have paid for classes to learn how to do so, whereas a child born tomorrow is going to be able to utilize it soon after. So I think it's a lot to do with having those classes accessible to persons in that area, or even having persons available to sit with them and take their time and work with them. Similar to how at the bank there is an old person's line, or the
Senior citizen.
senior citizen. I was looking for the words. Apologies to anyone who identifies as a senior citizen. And yes, so something of that nature may be necessary. They may not ever be able to fully learn and grasp the concepts. So we won't be able to not recognize that. So it's important to have that human element that we've been speaking about within our digital advancements. Yes.
Thank you very much. Let me just give you an example. You're asked to write a paper by your teacher, and you go on ChatGPT and you say, I want to write a paper on the history of St. Kitts and Nevis, for instance, and ChatGPT gives you a whole bunch of stuff. Nice 5 paragraphs, written to perfection. And you present that and you say, here, teacher, here is my wonderfully written paper. That's stealing. That's plagiarism. That's not your work, right? If you use some work or you use anything that does not belong to you, did not come from you, you have to reference it. It was written by Mr. Ethan Harrigan, or it was written by Mr. Oscar Brown, somebody else, right? You need to reference that person's name, the date it was done, so that the person who is reviewing your work knows you're using this piece of work here to support whatever you are presenting. But you need to add your own original piece to it to truly make it your work. If it's just simply a copy and paste operation, you are stealing. That's not your work. That didn't come from your brain. That came from Google. That came from ChatGPT. So use it to assist you, to enhance your work, but don't use it as your work. Do you understand that?
Yep.
Don't use something that does not belong to you as your own.
Not to mention, you might have 5 other classmates who did the same.
The same thing.
Yep.
Correct. We will go over to the right. Please introduce yourselves one at a time and ask your question.
Good morning. My name is Ajna Brown, and I represent the Immaculate Conception Catholic School. My question is directed to Mr. Hodge. If I or someone else was interested in becoming part of the white economy in terms of income or creating a business, how would you suggest we begin?
Well, you first have to start off with an idea. So develop ideas. You can go on Google. You can even ask ChatGPT what options are available. But you can go also based on your talents or your passions. If you're into makeup, being a makeup artist, you can utilize the digital realm to teach people, offer digital courses, which would be your own intellectual property and so forth. If you're interested in marketing, you can utilize your smartphones. I'm sure many of us have access to a smartphone. Create reels, create social media accounts, and help it to grow. It does take a lot of learning, but it takes passion. And for me, passion rules out everything when it comes to entrepreneurship. You have to be self-motivated to accomplish anything in it because it's rather difficult. There'll always be hurdles. People may not understand what you're saying or may not see your vision, but you have to know what you'd like to get out of it. And as such, I would say the first thing is you have your idea, research around your idea, find whatever hardware or software you may need to accomplish that idea. It may be, as social media is, you may need a phone, a smartphone, and access to internet. Or it may be something grander where you might go into videography to the extent of what the team has here and finding means of getting a video camera and editing software and so forth. But just having that core understanding and then working gradually towards it will help you to get there. And then you need to access, get into the market. That is also very difficult. If it is a saturated market, it may mean that you have a lot of competition. So you need to find ways of differentiating yourself to your competition, and provide value to those that view or utilize your services, your goods, and so forth. Because at the end of the day, that is what it boils down to. If your customers are not satisfied with what you offer, they have no reason to pay you for the services or goods that you offer. At the end of the day, it all boils down to just starting. Start somewhere. You can start as small as possible and just keep growing. You can start big, but you just need to start. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Good morning. My name is Sharice Twang, and I also represent the Immaculate Conception Catholic School. I have two questions. The first is for Miss Williams-Knight, and the second is for both of you. The first is, how do you manage your time between both law and writing, and what do you write? And the second one is, how would you both recommend I make money in the white and orange economies, specifically through writing?
Okay, so how do I manage my time between law and writing? I don't know. Sometimes it's a struggle, but for now, for me, my work takes precedence, so I have to make sure that I'm doing what I'm hired to do. So in my spare time or off time, I try to make time to write. I write everywhere. There are notes on my phone, there's paper on my desk, there's a book next to my bed. There's just little opportunities that I try to find to write. Writing is something that just comes naturally to me, so it's not something that I really plan to do per se. But if I have ideas about books that I want to publish, and I try to just write little notes. Lots of people think that to write a book you need to sit down and write everything one time. There are people who have been writing books for years. You just do a little bit every day or whenever you get a chance. And I think that's really been the strategy that I use. I published a book. You asked about what I write. I published a book on pregnancy loss, thinking that having gone through the experience that that's not something we talk about in the region. We're so ashamed to admit that something like that happened to us. This is why I'm very adamant in talking to you all and telling you that fear can be an option. Because if we're too concerned about what other people are going to say and how other people are going to see us, we'll never do anything. So trying to move past that fear, and I did that by publishing a book on a very sensitive topic, and I would encourage anybody who wants to do anything. You're going to have voices in your head that tell you this is not a good idea, don't do it, think people are going to say you this, people are going to say you that, you're not good enough. You're going to have these voices in your head. You might even have those voices in your household. But it's going to be important for you to just push past that and find that boldness and confidence in yourself. How do you, can you make money from writing? Publish a book. Sorry?
Apart from publishing books, because they take years, so something I can start now.
I wrote a book in 6 months.
Oh.
It doesn't have to take a year. It's just focus. I was adamant that my book was going to be launched a year after I lost my baby, and that's what I did. So if you make up your mind, I'm going to write a book in 3 months, you just have to figure out how you're going to get that done. But it's possible. It doesn't have to take years. You could write for other people. You can, you could research the term copywriting, not copyright, R-I-G-H-T, but copywriting, W-R-I-T-I-N-G, right? every website you goes on has material. It comes from somewhere, somebody wrote it. There are people who want writers because they can't write. We have a struggle with people who can spell. I think spelling correctly is like a superpower right now. So writing for people, finding people who need what you're offering. Just offering your services. You might be surprised. Somebody you might never anticipate might be interested in doing that. Writing emails for all people. Teaching all people how to use technology. Writing manuals to teach older people how to do Facebook. Something like that. Just look at the gaps in the market and just try to fill it with your skill.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question. We have a hand raised in the back, young man. It's good to see a young man asking a question.
The chef.
Yeah, the chef. Oh, the budding chef.
Yes, this
All
is
right.
the chef.
Go ahead, Mr. Chef.
My name is Tedwan Webb, and my question is to Ms. Knight. So, as you were saying with copywriting, during your presentation about the drones, you say if it's built too similar, it can be considered as copywriting. So, is there an exception to phones? Because to me, phones are physically built the same, but just have different logos.
I mean, that's patent, not copywriting. Remember, copyrights is a particular type of information. Trademark deals with something else. Patent is when you create something that's new. So the drone was new in 1962. But we have these wars between the phone companies now because they're developing technology. It looks the same to all of us. But for them to be able to acquire patents, there must be something that is new or innovative in it, even if it changes one simple thing. It's something that is new that they've been able to create. So to your mind, it looks the same, but there has to be some difference, some innovative difference for them to be able to have patents. And that's something to bear in mind as well. There might be something that you're using in your everyday life and you think, boy, if this thing was only 4 inches wider, it would make a big difference. Then you could start creating these things and possibly benefiting as well. Little changes make a whole new product.
All right, thank you.
Just think of the race car, right? If you ever seen race car driving, all the cars look the same, right? But the technology behind them is different. So they're not copying each other's technology. They actually use different technologies, the way they burn fuel and whatnot. The outcome is the same. They all can do about 200 miles an hour. But how you get to 200 miles an hour, they use their own individual technologies to do that. So it's the same for the phone. They all look the same, some of them do the same things. The technology behind it is what's different. That's what differentiates them. We'll take a question from the front. Anybody from the back? We'll wrap up soon because lunch will be here very shortly. If there are any other questions, we'll probably entertain 2 more questions after this one.
Here and one here.
Right, so we'll take one to the front. Please introduce yourself and ask your question.
Good morning. My name is Joshua Franks. I am representing the Immaculate Conception Catholic School. I have a question directed to Mr. Hodge. All of you are saying that you're never too young to do certain stuff. Say, for example, I know web designing, and I want to make some money, right? How do you suggest, because companies and institutions and people, adults in general, will be a little hesitant to, let's say, have like a teenager like me do the job instead of having an adult or somebody older and more experienced doing it. So how do you suggest that we get institutions or small companies, people in general, to have like put their faith or trust into the younger ones?
So from my perspective, I would have taken over my family's business at the age of 19, I think it was. But I've been involved in the business from way before. And One of my thoughts when I took over the business was that I was too young to be able to hold a seat at a table with general managers from the hotels and even government officials and stuff. But I did it. And I was able to convey my skills, my vision, and even help cause them to develop faith in me just by the way I speak, by the way you dress, and being very professional with how you approach it. Where you might be quite young to be owning a business, because a lot of businesses would do business with business as opposed with individuals. It could be a situation where your parents might step in on your behalf and form a company for you, and that they will work with you and intermediate on your behalf. Equally, how old are you right now?
15.
15. Okay. So I think a lot of people can trust teenagers, especially when it comes to the digital sector, because of how adept you are with understanding the technology. And from that perspective, it may be a little bit easier for someone of your age to be able to get into it, whereas somebody who's like 6 years old or 7 years old might have a challenge. There are the several clubs that persons have help to bring together a lot of like-minded individuals like yourself, who may have a grand idea that they would like to pitch. And once you are able to develop a documentation around that and show that you're serious about it, I think that people will take you very seriously to grow your businesses and start your business. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
If I could just add to build your competence, because if I'm in the market looking for somebody who does website design and you show me your portfolio and it looks good, I really don't care how old you are.
Yeah, definitely.
So if you can do the job and show that you can do the job, then your age really doesn't matter. You just may have to involve an adult, like Mr. Hodge said, to sign contracts for you and things of that nature until you're 18.
Thank you for the question. So we'll now go to the back. Was it Ms. Andrew? Did you have a question? And we'll come back to the front afterwards. So Ms. Andrew, go ahead.
Back on artificial intelligence, I know we've said that it's not, artificial intelligence isn't perfect. We as humans aren't perfect. There are all kind of flaws to like both AI and human work. And I heard when Ethan was saying that, it can be used to help. But Miss Williams-Knight, in a situation as a poet, as an artist, as a writer, do you see artificial intelligence, because it's so easy as writing a prompt and they give you a poem, a song, a picture. Do you see it having a negative and/or positive effect on the orange economy? Because also as poets, you have to understand, I'm sure you've been in a situation where you sit down and there's just nothing coming and you physically cannot write. Do you see it being of help, or do you see it and/or being a stunt to artists?
Well, I think artificial intelligence is a threat for the orange economy. We have so many examples right now where artificial intelligence did a song of Drake. So they created a song using Drake's voice. AI did the lyrics and it was produced, and this song is actually trending. But Drake had nothing to do with it. So if that's a threat. But the thing that I always keep in the back of my head when it comes to artificial intelligence is the fact that the likelihood of two people getting the same thing is perhaps higher than you and I being told to write a poem about love. It's not going to come out the same way at all. So I think it's a threat because it's going to be producing We have artwork. I'm sure you all know so many apps that if you put in your photo, all of a sudden you're in Egypt. You look like you're actually in Egypt because you fed them your photos and they create these AI images. So it's a threat in that AI will be able to create, but I still believe that there's nothing like a human touch. And there's nothing like you actually putting your hat out on paper and having to find ways to counter AI. So for example, one of the things that I've been thinking about is not producing any poetry or doing any poetry videos where I do the entire poem. I might do it, and it's a strategy that I see in music. Like if you look at music videos that your favorite artists do, you're never going to see their complete song uninterrupted. There's always going to be, like in the middle of the song, a break where somebody starts talking, because if you rip that from YouTube, it's not going to be the song that you enjoy. So using these kind of strategies to interrupt full theft of your work, I think these are things that we're going to have to think about. But artists need to be honest. So yes, I have the writer's block sometimes, but I think everybody needs to just be honest about their production. And if maybe it might even give us an opportunity to start charging premium prices. This is an originally human written poem. This was not created by AI, which you could get for cheap. So maybe that might even be another opportunity for us to start charging people more. Who knows?
Thank you. So we will take two more questions. We have one right here from the front, one over here to the right. Oh, you had your, I'm sorry.
She had her hand up.
I'm sorry. Okay, so we might extend it just a little bit, but that's okay. So let's start with the lady in the front.
Thank you. Okay, so I understand that plagiarism would be using someone else's intellectual property as your own and not giving them credit. With the use of AI, if it were to use information that's on the internet and in your prompt you ask for references, whose intellectual property would you be plagiarizing, seeing as it gave credit to the person who they used?
Whose intellectual property?
Yeah.
So AI gave you references?
If you ask, I'm assuming they would. If you say, can I get a 500-word essay on such and such, provide references.
Well, I guess maybe you would provide references, but again, going back to what Mr. Hodge said, are they accurate? That's always an issue that you have to worry about with AI. Is it accurate? The troublesome thing, AI is really causing a problem for intellectual property rights because it's pulling different things from different people, so you're not quite sure whose work you're actually infringing on. So that's a difficulty that we're facing in intellectual property because of AI just kind of taking bits and pieces from all over the place. But it requires, what it's also doing is requiring people to monitor what ChatGPT is doing. So if I ask a question, if I go into ChatGPT and I ask a question and about me, pull Gian Williams' work, and it pulls my stuff, I get to see what is what's in there and what it's copying. Mm-hmm. But it's a challenge all around, quite honestly.
All right, thank you. So we are way past the time. We're going to take two final questions.
For the last time.
For the last time. But let me say though that at the beginning of this process, we were concerned that nobody would want to ask questions, and we are extremely heartened by the fact that you've asked as many questions as you have, and that you want to continue asking questions, knowing that you're hungry, knowing that we're all hungry and we have other things to do as well. I am really heartened by this. So I want you to give yourselves a round of applause. I'm really enjoying the engagement and the participation that we're seeing here this morning. And it looks like we may have to do this in the future, but we'll speak about that with the governor and so later. But we're really heartened by your participation. So last two questions, then we will wrap up and head out for lunch. I think there was somebody.
It's right here.
No, we had somebody. Our friend over here had her hand raised a long time ago. Mr. Chef, I think you've asked a question before. Oh, is that not the chef? Oh, that's the
second chef.
That's the second chef.
Yeah.
Okay, so over here, Mr. Chef, and to the front here, and we will close the session off. So we'll start to the right. Please introduce yourself and ask your question. Bring the mic closer to you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Leah.
Speak up.
Speak up, please. Closer to the mic.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Leah Jeremiah, and I represent Bastia High School. So my question was initially for Ms. King to talk about climate change, but I could include it. So my question was, she was talking about climate change and think it's being one of the smallest countries in the Caribbean, you know, we would be affected by it a lot. So I was wondering, what initiatives can the Orange and the White Economies do to help with climate change, or like boost with, you know, the knowledge of climate change?
Well, from the white economy, we have access to a wide social net that can communicate to a variety of persons across the world to highlight the issues that we face. There are many activists that are out there and they film everything. They post their information, whether it's by text, written text, photos, or videos. One of the things that has been of note was the prevalence of the sargassum seaweed that's been affecting our region. And a lot of persons have posted photos, drone photos, or even screen from their phone, their mobile phones, of the scale of the impact on their economies. And utilizing social media and the web in general and internet, in that way we're able to express to the world, this is what's happening to us because of actions that you're doing across the world. Some halfway around the world, and it's impacting us so negatively that it's really impacting our lives and our ability to live. And we need you to empathize with us, but also we need solutions from you. And I think that the white economy definitely does a great job in connecting people and connecting our issues on a global scale. So just utilizing that efficiently would be a great assistance to do so. Yes.
I would also add for the white economy disaster alert systems. So we had a tropical storm the other day and we woke up wondering if we have to go to school and work. So we were waiting for somebody to give us this information, but you know, text messages, WhatsApp messages, these are the ways that we're alerting each other. So if there's something happening, we need to have these sorts of systems where we can alert people in a large amount of people as quickly as possible. For the orange economy, I think Tricia is a perfect example of what the orange economy can do, raising awareness about different things. So even if it's jingles about turning off your water or dances and showing people the emotion behind these issues, then that's I think the orange economy is an excellent approach to raising awareness.
And also learning how you can reduce your contribution to greenhouse gases, right? Making that transition to renewable forms of energy. I think we all have to take ownership of that and reduce our carbon footprint. So we can learn, there's a whole lot of resources available online that we can learn about that. So we had the gentleman next to the chef, and then we'll end off with our friend to the front. And that'll be it for the day. Yes, please introduce
Good
yourself.
Good morning, everybody. So
Please get the mic, bring the mic closer to you because we can't hear you from here. Thank you.
You don't turn after me? Good afternoon, everybody. I have a question. It's a general question, and I'm talking about like young artists and up-and-coming artists in St. Kitts and Nevis. Like, what is a good method to make money from your writing?
For upcoming artists, so a big thing that you're going to have to do, number one, sign up with a collective management organization so that you can actually collect royalties when your music is played in public. Without that, you will not be able to receive royalties. You will only get paid when you perform on a show. The second thing is production, actually producing what you're writing. If you're not the performer, getting people to do the performing for you. And of course, signing agreements that say, I own this, I'm just allowing you to perform it for me. But when it comes to the music industry, it's all about promotion and getting people to play and like and support your music. Now, there are millions of writers, but we might only know of a handful because these are the ones who get their names and their work out there. So you would have to focus on distribution, getting your music on platforms like Apple and Spotify and other platforms where music is distributed, and promoting yourself. That is a big thing that we don't like to do in the Caribbean. We love people to ask us about ourselves, but to put you on the spot and say, why should I support you? You can't really answer that question. You have to know how to pitch. Yes. So like one of the things Mr. Hodge said, like, why should I support you as an artist? So build your portfolio and promote your portfolio.
Okay then, thank you.
Thank you. And now for our final question, please introduce yourself and ask your question.
Good afternoon. My name is Donna Bradley. I'm representing St. Kitts and Nevis as well as the St. Kitts National Youth Parliament Association. And my question is for Jihan. As it relates to ECO, how is the licensing fee process facilitated, especially as it relates to events?
So ECHO, ECHO is the collective management organization that collects fees, licensing fees, for public performances in the Eastern Caribbean. Each country here would have a representative, or 2 or 5 or how many ever. But what they do, it depends on the type of event or type of establishment. So like a FET is not going to be charged the same as a gym. And it would be based on things like how many people are coming in, what kind of music is being played, things like that. So they do their assessment and they have what is called a tariff schedule that says for these events, we charge this. So they go according to a tariff schedule. When I did my book launch, I got my ECHO license and it cost me like $150. And then they come and they take note of what music was played at the event, or sometimes people have to submit what they call their play logs of what music they play, and then they store that and take note of whose work was used, and the money goes towards paying out those people.
Great. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give our presenters another round of applause. Madam Williams-Knight, Mr. Hodge, Tricia Grill-King, we thank you so much for the information shared today. We hope it was informative and enjoyable for you. We hope we did not bore you today and that you actually will leave here with new knowledge, new information, new energy to pursue your dreams. So again, we want to thank you all for participating so well this morning. I'm super impressed with all the questions that were asked, with the presentations that were delivered today. I am extremely grateful to the presenters. And at this point, we would like to honor our presenters by giving them a small token of appreciation, which will be presented to them. I think some individuals have been identified, and so we'd ask you now to come on up, and let's give our token of appreciation to our presenters.
Oh, of course, branding is important.
Branding, yes.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
sir.
Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you. Next, we have.
And if I'm not mistaken, Central Bank's logo is trademarked.
Yes, it is.
Thank you very much. All right, thanks.
Thank you so very much. Governor, I don't know if you have any remarks that you'd like to make, or you're good for the day. You've received a full meal of information today. Fantastic. At this stage, we'd like to invite Mr. Samora Cherubin to give the vote of thanks, and then we will close off for lunch.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me? All right, so as we conclude this part of today's activities, we want to express our thanks to all those who have been involved. We want to thank the executive of the bank, the governor, Timothy Antwine, the deputy governor, Dr. Valda Henry, who has been very enthusiastic and passionate about this event, our chief director of policy, Tracy Paulius. We want to thank our speakers who have graciously accepted the invitation to share with us their knowledge, their experience, to spark this discussion that it's starting today, but it won't end today. Our representatives here from the schools, the youth parliament associations, I believe they're each going to take this back to their associations, their countries, and this discussion will be ongoing. Today is just the start of it. So just to name our speakers, Mr. Clemvio Hodge, Ms. Jean Williams-Knight, Ms. Brianne Hutchinson, and of course, Ms. Tricia Griot-King. We thank you for your presentations. We say thank you to the youth parliamentarians. We are happy to have representatives from our ECCU member associations here physically with us. We thank you for that. We thank you for your efforts to date. We make a special mention of the Youth Parliament Associations of Antigua and Barbuda, as well as St. Kitts and Nevis. Through our initial interaction with those members, it has evolved into what we are having here today. And today is just the start of it, we believe. As a region, we share not only a common currency, we share common thoughts, common problems, common issues. But by coming together to discuss these issues, we are in a better position to face those challenges. So initiatives like today that foster regional integration, they go a long way. We could not have a youth symposium without youth involvement. We're grateful to the students and teachers from the secondary schools here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis who have not only been present today, but have been actively involved and participating in today's events. We also express gratitude to those who have joined us via our ECCB Connect's Facebook and YouTube channels, including students in other member countries. So we say thank you for joining in and being involved in today's event. We want to thank the executive again for granting permission for today's event. We want to say thank you to all those involved in the planning and execution of this event. We want to make mention of the ECCB's 40th Anniversary Committee, as well as the subcommittees, including the Youth Subcommittee, the Logistics Committee, other internal stakeholders, including our Securities Unit, our Support Services Management Department, our Corporate Relations Department, and all other members of staff and volunteers who have contributed towards making today's event successful. These people have been involved over the past weeks and days, working extended hours without extended pay, offering their service to make everything that has happened today happen. So we want to say thank you for that. So mention was made of the ECCB's 40th anniversary. On the table in front of you, there is a bag that is for you to take. Also, when you are exiting, you will be given a token at the exit. So when you exit outside, you'll be given a token. So finally, thank you all for participating. Thank you for coming. Please travel safely.
I enjoyed your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you very much, students. So lunch will be served outside in the foyer. For the parliamentary, for the youth parliamentarians, your lunch would be served in a separate room. So allow the students to